It's the True Penny Show with your host, James True Penny.
Hello and welcome to the True Penny Show. My name's James True Penny and this is my show. And today we are at Ryogoku Kokugen Sumo Hall in Tokyo, Japan, which is remarkable because we just reviewed a show from there, but you won't hear that till next week, if my maths is correct.
In the future.
In the future. We just did stuff in the future.
Yes.
That's how cool we are, like the jet setters.
No, we're cooler than them.
Are you as cool as Kevin Knight's dropkick?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, I lose. I'm sorry.
That's
You'll have
all
to
right.
be cool for the both of us.
Oh, I'm not that cool. I will try my best, though. As you can hear from her dulcet tones, Christie is joining me, our New Japan correspondent, to look at Sakura Genesis.
Noah.
No, to look at Noah.
Our
Wow.
New Japan correspondent to look at Noah.
To look at the rebirth of the XFL, yes. There's a ball. They carry it. Anyway, yeah, I actually did read some on the XFL this week because I was like, it's now the UFL because someone bought the rights to the old 80s league, the USFL. They tried running against the XFL last year. It didn't work out for either of them, so they decided to merge and become the UFL.
Oh,
and
God.
there's a USFL conference and an XFL conference. And I'm like, this seems awfully complicated for a farm league, but there we go. Anywho,
we already went on a tangent. It's like 1 minute in.
It's mildly wrestling related because the company's owned by The Rock and his ex-wife. So,
well, it's also because we just recorded a podcast, so to us, it's just we're continuing the banter.
We're just well into the swing of things, so this might be a rocky ride for you who's listening today. We apologize in advance.
I'm sorry.
Shall we talk some wrestling?
In New Japan.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Chaos, Tomohiro Ishii, Toriyano, and Oleg Bolton defeated Ayota Yoshida, Chikataro Shoki, and Takeru Niki in 8 minutes and 33 seconds. What did you think of this? This pre-show Frontier Zone 6-man tag team match, which I didn't see. Is it on the show?
Who?
No, you did you? I'm wondering if this was on the show because the show started at 9 o'clock and this wasn't on the card.
Because I had to go to the stables as I do every Saturday morning. And I came back, and at the point of Bishamon versus Kenta and Chase Owens is where I started watching live.
Okay, so did you go back and watch this show after?
I did, and this is the last match I watched.
Because I have not seen this match because it wasn't on the main show, and they didn't show it. So was it any good?
It was okay. I have to admit, at this point, I was kind of flooded with wrestling stuff because we recorded another podcast. So I watched another event yesterday and today, and then watched Sakura Genesis, first half of it live. And then after I finished watching the other event, I watched the rest of it. So, and this was the last match. So at this point, I'd watched how many matches? 11 on the one and 9 on the other. So I'd watched 20 matches in like a day.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. I think I've watched something like 16 matches today as well, so it's all a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and I know that's normal for a lot of people because a lot of people watch a lot of wrestling. I don't, and I take notes for everything. So it's like it's a school day for me. So this is I watched this, but I don't have any comments other than that Yoshida is back.
Yes. These are all two AW wrestlers. For those of you who don't know, we have done the history of 2AW. This was originally Kaientai Dojo. And then when Taka had his sabbatical from professional wrestling,
because of good behavior.
Because of knocking up his girlfriend, and not telling his wife, they decided that they perhaps needed a fresh start, not to be linked with such nefarious behavior, and became 2AW. And Yoshida has recently become the new 2AW champion.
Yeah, and Yoshida is from he came to New Japan when back in like 2018 or something, when I was still watching.
Yeah.
He came over as he was Young Lion comparable. Like
Yes.
he wore all black, but he got, like knee pads, something like that. He
Yeah.
was a Young Lion, but from a different company, so he was treated at just above Young Lion level, and he teamed with Shota,
Hmm.
I think, in like World Tag League or something.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just looking at his career on Cage Match at the moment, and
That's
2000.
what I remember.
Yes, World Tag League. His last match in World Tag League was with Shota against Yuji Nagata and Manubi Nakanishi.
Yeah, and I saw him in New Japan. I was like, they're going to adopt him, or it felt like that. And then he disappeared. And the moment I get back into wrestling and New Japan, so does he. So welcome back to New Japan.
In those, like the year after the New Japan stuff, he has a lot more matches in All Japan. He has some in BJW. He has some in Freedoms. He does some of the freelance works. He even goes to OEW in China and Pro Wrestling 01 as well. And he's wrestled for all sorts of people around the Japanese indie circuit. And he seems to have, like, most of his stuff's in 2AW. And then he will wrestle for other people. He was on a Glate show, which I can't remember him being on. Oh, yeah, no, I do remember that. Yeah, he was on a Glate show not long ago. So
yeah, he seems really good.
Yes.
I made a joke to a friend in DMs that he's going to be one of Shota's allies. Because Shota needs allies.
Depending on how long they can keep a talent swap deal together with 2AW, yes.
Yeah.
I would love to come and save you in this tag match, but my contract ran out half an hour ago.
Yeah, obviously that's not going to happen, but it's funny to imagine. And I liked him. I liked him back then, so I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah. I would love that actually to happen, like as a storyline. I would love to come and save you, but I can't. They're kicking me out the building. I no
Can you
longer
hang
work
on
here.
for like 3 hours?
Whilst I do a contract negotiation.
Yeah, or while I finish this show for my other promotion. I'll come as soon as I can.
Exactly. We're at Kurikan. Do you want some comps? Anyway. The actual first match of this show was the returning from surgery Kosei Fujita tagging with Zack Sabre Jr. against El Desperado and the man who ruins everything, Raisuke Taguchi. Raisuke Taguchi and El Desperado lost, thus continuing his streak of awfulness. 9 minutes and 32 seconds.
Taguchi's awfulness.
Yes, this was actually quite a lot of fun because it was big match Taguchi. He actually turned up this time. Bless him. Still wasn't enough.
That's not why it was fun for me.
No, the fun thing was El Desperado and Zack Sabre Jr. having a bit of a friendly wrestle off, if you will, and then Fujita coming in and being a little shit, which is what he does best.
That's his talent. That's why we love him.
Indeed, just attacking Desperados, good beats up to Gucci, which I am all in favor of.
Oh, don't be mean to Despy.
I'm not being mean to Despy. I was like, I'm all in favor to Gucci getting being much. I'm sure you would agree with
okay,
it.
then it's fine. Then it's fine. Yeah, I'll accept that.
Yes, so he could beat up Taguchi uninterrupted.
Yeah,
which I think. I know handshake from Desperado and Zack Sabre Jr. to finish the match off, but this is my kind of wrestling. Apart from Taguchi, but I don't dislike Taguchi as a wrestler. As a character, he's awful. But the whole raison d'etre, bit of fun, enjoyed it. Nice little opener, kind of thing I like. What did you think, Kristen?
I saw that this was on the card, and I got so excited like weeks ago when it was announced.
I thought you might do.
Yeah, because these are my two guys. These are the murder besties, as I nicknamed them, which actually became a thing, where even Japanese fans called them the murder besties. And I'm like, ha, yeah. Because I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast already, but Desperado was Zack's second in Zack's first G1.
Yes.
And I just love their friendship so much during that, because it just looked like Zack was really nervous and Despy helped a lot. And I just know that both of them must have been so excited to finally get to wrestle each other.
Yeah.
It looked like they were having a ball. Like, Desperado was smiling and Zack looked delighted, and they were just all the ref. Like, I don't care about wrestling moves, but you could tell. Like, I feel like they've been practicing these moves from like Suzuki-gun days.
Yeah, you would. Well, yeah, because they did a lot of pull arounds together. Because like Despy was essentially Suzuki's punching bag for quite some time, and they trained a lot together with Suzuki, and they yeah, basically they've been rolling together for a long time, I would think. So
yeah. It feels like they were friends during Suzuki-gun days, and they must have like practiced together. Like, what if you do this? What if you do that? But never actually got to use it because they were on the same team and they were in different weight classes, so they were never going to meet. And then they meet in a random tag match on Sakura Genesis.
There was always Suzuki-gun used to wrestle each other like once a year during the tag league or something like that, because there'd be 2 tag teams from Suzuki-gun and they'd end up having into Suzuki-gun matches, and that might be the only time that they did.
I don't remember them wrestling each other, and I think at that time I would have remembered it because that would have been a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And even commentary was like, this is the first time they're meeting.
Yeah.
So it could have happened, but this felt like more of 2 singles guys meeting, you know?
Yes.
Like, yes, it was a tag team, but whenever Desperado and Zack matched up, it felt like a singles match that just happened to involve Taguchi and Fujita. And Fujita is an interesting mix as well, because it kind of feels like the camaraderie Zack has with Despy is similar to what he has with Fujita now, only Fujita is much younger. It's the opposite, you know? Desperado's older than Zack, I think.
Yes, I think so.
And he was the more experienced one when it comes to New Japan stuff when Zack came to New Japan.
Despy's 40. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's an old man.
No.
And now it's like Zack has a new junior, you know?
Yes, yeah.
It's just it was so much fun. It was the first match. It was completely inconsequential, but it felt like it meant a lot because I'm so invested in the characters, and that's what I love about New Japan. I just love that it's a random tag match, and Murder Besties happened to me, and it meant the same to them as it meant to me.
Aww.
You could see it on their faces. So, and Fujita got a win.
Yeah, he did. Which kind of set him up for later in the card, which we will talk about.
It did.
Shortly. But let us move on, unless you have anything else to say.
No, that's it. I talked about the first match on a huge card for long enough, I think.
Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi defeated Bullet Club War Dogs David Finlay and Gedo, which was not the comeback match for David Finlay straight off of surgery, which cost him the New Japan Cup. 5 minutes and 39 seconds. Didn't last very long either. It's kind of a bit of a nothing match, and it kind of just happened. But it did showcase Bushi's new figure 4 leg lock kind of finisher, which he used to polish off Gedo, who was screaming in agony, which a lot of New Japan fans are quite happy to see on a regular basis.
That's our favorite Gedo.
Yes, that's it.
Being tortured.
Kate from Fightful this week said, I can't remember. Basically, she said, I can't wait for Zack Sabre Jr. to win the G1. I was like, no. We do not wish that into existence. Because
at least 3 people say it. Gedo is like, no.
No, and it's like, no, because Gedo hates each and every one of us and will deny us that. We sit on our hands until January the 4th next year when Zack's music is finished and they're announcing him in the ring. Then we will quietly celebrate before it goes away. Which you're like, LMAO. You've got a point.
Just don't touch anyway.
Absolutely not, Gedo. Absolutely not. That's not what we want. So we will keep quiet about Zack for quite some time to come. Anyway, but yes, this match was there. It happened. It wasn't great. It was okay. There was nothing wrong with it. did what it said on the tin. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to know that Finley's okay.
Yes, that's good.
So happy to see him. I hope you're doing fine. You say that this match didn't mean anything.
I didn't say it didn't mean anything.
Well, kind
I
of
just don't.
inconsequential seemed
Yeah. I mean,
random.
Yeah, it seemed a bit random. It is like because it's like why are two junior heavyweights wrestling two Finley and Gedo? That makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense in a kayfabe sort of way. But
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense when you're looking at it from New Japan.
Go on.
Go on. Okay. Because the whole story moving forward is going to be LIJ versus War Dogs.
I suppose so, yes. But
So
we didn't know that at the time, did we?
No,
No,
we didn't
so it's
know.
just a random tag match.
That's why I'm saying it makes sense from a New Japan point of view, not a kayfabe point of view.
Retrospectively, yes, it makes more sense now. But at the time, it was just like,
Yeah, but and it also felt like a way to insert Finley back into that story.
Yes.
Because obviously, because of the New Japan Cup, he'd been removed from what we assume was a final against an LIJ member.
Yes.
So this is him being inserted back into the story, getting to bully two LIJ members.
Yeah.
And losing to two LIJ members, two juniors.
Yes.
Which is horrible for someone, but amazing for a character like Finley because he gets to rage now. And that leads to what happens later on in the show.
And feeds into other things like his dad was a junior heavyweight.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much that can go on with this. This is such a wonderful story. It's so many layers to tell. Yes, Hiromu currently lining himself on Mustafa Ali, your X Division champion, next week on Windy City Riot. And that's going to be the next big match for him.
Hiromu's doing a lot of losing, though.
He is. And that's the bigger issue. But he politely asked if he may go.
Repeatedly. He's so annoying. I love him.
Repeatedly asked for a match with Mustafa Ali for the X Division.
No, he repeatedly asked if he could ask a question.
Yes, before getting to the actual question in the end, which Ali's reply was, "Why are you like this?"
And everyone said, "Oh, you finally met the real Hiromu. Welcome."
Because he is. Because he's just like that. That's what he is.
Yeah, that's why we love him.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on. Just five guys. Dookie Sanada, Yuya Uemura defeated Callum Newman, Great O'Khan, and Jeff Cobb in 8 minutes and 54 seconds when Yuya Uemura defeated Great O'Khan with an O'Connor roll and challenged for the King of Pro Wrestling. Kind of. Well, I mean, he pretty much did in the end. Great O'Khan just coming off for a defense with Tangaloa on the tour, which was essentially an eating contest.
Yeah, I did not watch that.
I didn't either.
We're talking. We just had the LIJ match. We should probably talk about one match from that show. Don't know when you want to do that, but
we'll do that at the next LIJ match, which will be somewhere further down the card. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
But
the next LIJ match, is that not the final?
Yeah, we'll talk about it after this match then. Let's finish this match first. Let's get one thing done at once before we backtrack.
Oh no, the next LIJ match is Shingo.
Yes, but we'll talk about it after this match. Just
okay.
Make sure we don't forget, because we'll forget. Anyway, Dookie Sanada, Yuya Uemura defeated Callum Newman, Great O'Khan, and Jeff Cobb in a fun little match which sets up Yuya Uemura against Great O'Khan. Your thoughts?
I thought United Empire had great teamwork. These feel like they are never teams, right? When they're going
that
to
was
Taiwan.
that was kind of the deal here, because half of the crew were off to Japan, so off to Chicago, and the other half of the crew were off to Taiwan, because it's on the same weekend, next weekend in fact, which I suppose we'll have to look at one of both shows. But as I pointed out on Twitter this morning, I'm not paying extra money to watch Matt Riddle.
No way, no.
No, so we'll look at that Taiwan Tag Team Tournament instead, shall we? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes, what did you think of this particular match? Carry on.
Yeah, like I said, great teamwork by the United Empire team. I love that Doki is both the face in peril, but also the one who gets to kick people on the head.
Yeah.
He's obviously the one they're going to target. But if you put him next to Callum Newman, who's like twice his size, I would still pick Doki.
Yeah.
So, yeah. that.
He's scrappy.
He is, and he would kick you in the shins, and then kick you in the balls, and then kick you in the head. And I love that about a guy.
Kaito Ishida of GLEAT and currently All Japan Pro Wrestling has, as I was watching the other day, has developed a new move on the kicking in the balls kind of thing, of just standing on the crotch.
That's also an option.
Yes, which I find hilarious because I was watching it this morning.
Continued torture.
Shimatani taking a low blow, just stood on his dick. It's like, hey, brr. I was like, oh, that's horrible, but funny. So funny. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, that's even funnier for me because I can just imagine your pain with that if that ever were to happen, because it doesn't hurt quite as much for me.
Yes. But
anyway, wrestling. Yuya won, which makes me happy. Didn't make Great Okan happy. But I feel like it's a kind of a Great Okan is part of the younger generation, but there's also a generation after him, and they're kind of coming for him. And I'm not sure Great Okan is happy with that.
No, and Great Okan hasn't won an awful lot lately, to be honest with you. Despite being King of Pro Wrestling Challenge, he keeps losing all the time. I don't quite understand how he manages to stay over whilst losing all the time to people who are often lesser than him.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Yuya is going for all the titles.
Yes, why not?
Like King of Pro Wrestling, never six-man, and, well, spoilers or?
Everyone goes for the Never Six-Man next week, so go on, what's the spoiler?
The spoiler is that he's also going for the tag.
Yes,
belt.
that's later on in the tournament.
Yeah, that's the spoiler.
Yes, that's spoiler. But we haven't said who won the tag team championship match yet.
So he's technically going after 3 belts right now.
Why not? Indeed. There's plenty of belts on offer in New Japan. Arguably, we should have less, but what can you say? Anyway. Yes, the LIJ match from the tour. Do you want to talk about that before we go any further?
Yeah. So there's nothing interesting that happened, as in stuff you would be interested in, but like character wise,
because you don't care enough. Carry on.
No, I thought about anything that was important, like that would have an impact on today's show.
Yeah,
there wasn't really any. It's just that this was a prime example of why I love LIJ, because it's. And I've talked with friends on Twitter about this. It completely shows the kind of characters and people they are.
Yeah.
Because, and I know, have you watched the match?
No, I haven't, no, because I just haven't had time.
Okay, the entire match is basically Naito trying to wrestle Bushi, but being like, I can't hurt him for real, because then he would get angry with me. So another Bushi and Naito fan said he very gingerly threw him into the barricade. And then the reply was, well, Naito's sleeping on the couch for the rest of the year. Whereas Hiromu is like full tilt, wanting to wrestle Naito but not being allowed to, and Bushi's like, I guess I'll wrestle him. And Naito doesn't want to wrestle Bushi. And meanwhile, Tsuji is like, what the hell's going on? And it's such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Because you never see them wrestle each other.
No, because it's
but they clearly know. They clearly know all the others' moves.
Yeah.
And then there's the character thing that Naito, like I said on Twitter, I think Bushi is the only person in New Japan Naito actually respects.
Yeah. He likes Hiromu, but I'm not sure he respects him.
I think he has some respect for him.
Yeah, but not in the same way as he does for Bushi, who's...
No. And I feel like Bushi's the only one Naito would choose over...
Hiromu.
No, over like his dream of being the top of New Japan.
Yeah.
This is all very fanfickery, but... Yes. I feel like they have that kind of relationship, which is ironic because Bushi is like the lowest in LIJ when you look at achievements and stuff like that.
But he's the longest standing member currently in the team, so they've had the closest relationship. Yeah. And I know I've seen the stuff from when Bushi broke his back
and Naito was at his bedside, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like in the eyes of fans, Shingo or Tsuji would be the second in command, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to ask Naito, I'm pretty sure he would say Bushi.
And that kind of goes with, like, if you think about Bullet Club, when Devitt was the leader, Carl Anderson was the second in command, even though he wasn't necessarily always the biggest star, second biggest star in the faction. Do you see what I mean?
Mm.
You know, Farley was probably a bigger star at that particular point than Anderson was, but Anderson was the brains behind the outfit, and that's kind of where Bush's position I see him in as well. Is kind of he's the brains. He's the guy that kind of runs things in the background.
Yeah,
make sure everything swings along nicely.
We joked about Naito not being able to be on time or forgetting about appointments because Bushi's mad at him now because he got thrown in the barricades and he's not reminding Naito where he has to go. Which it probably isn't true. Like, it's just fans weaving a story, but
Yes.
it's fun to imagine.
After this match, Jeff Cobb came down and sat down and did commentary in his singlet without a shower.
Unfortunately,
which pleased Christie no end. Because he had some hits, he had some misses. He was there. He wasn't.
He had
terrible.
a lot of misses.
Yes.
He was so annoying. Anyway, go talk about the match.
Oh yes, Chris Charlton was on commentary for this match as well, for the whole card, because Walker Stewart's sadly not well, and hopefully back in Japan soon. Shall we move to the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match?
Yes.
That featured the champions Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors, Driller, Maloney, Catch 2-2, Francesco Akira, and TJP, and went alongside intergalactic jet setters Kevin Knight and Kushida. Bullet Club won the match in 17 minutes and 29 seconds. This was okay. I'm not a big fan of three-way matches, as most people know, and this was a good example of why I'm not a big fan of three-way matches, because essentially it was a bunch of spots and try and keep the other two guys out the ring for 20 minutes, which isn't always the most thrilling thing for me to watch. Other people thoroughly enjoyed it, though. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, like, this is one of the matches that I watched after I watched everything else, and I'd seen a lot of people recommend it, so I was kind of excited going into it. It's not my kind of match.
No, this is
it was exciting to watch.
Yeah,
but I have no notes for it because it was. No, I don't want to call it a spot fest because that sounds like a negative. It's not a negative, but the story of the match was spots.
Yeah, that is the absolute issue with me, and I don't necessarily think I've seen some of them and it's worked really well. Yeah, but most of the time they just don't work for me.
And I still enjoyed the match. I still enjoyed.
Yeah, I didn't think it was horrible,
no.
But it's just I think different teams would have done it better, if that makes sense. If you go back to the classic era of the tag team division when you had Red Dragon and the Young Bucks and Roppongi Vice and those teams, they did it all the time and it really clicked, but they were very much more used to doing it. And you've got a lot of young guys in this match, and not all of them are necessarily the glue wrestlers, which is kind of what you need to make this work. Like Kushida and TJP are glue wrestlers, but the others aren't. So it didn't really quite click the way I wanted it to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
just kind of got a bit disjointed, and I hate being critical about stuff that's like, when they were trying their hearts out and doing big moves and everything was really cool, but it still to me just like didn't kind of flow.
Yeah, it's a great match for people who are into that kind of.
Yeah, if it's your thing, that's fine. It's just not my thing.
But it's also like, I feel like this is a great match for those kind of people. Like, sometimes I feel like people who like big spots are like, well, any match that has a lot of big spots is great. I think if I were that kind of person, I would find this match a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think as well is like we actually have been underserved for big spot matches as of late.
Yeah, it's fine. And
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed the match. It's just I know I could have been more invested if it had been a different kind of match.
Yes.
And that's always my big thing. I need to be invested. And I am invested in a couple of these characters now, against my will when it comes to TJP. But
Yes.
then Kushida and Kevin Knight, and I love Kushida. Please don't get me wrong. I would love to see him in Best of Super Juniors, which he isn't in,
Yeah.
but he might still be in. We'll talk about that later. But there's no reason for them to be here.
No.
So the story you set up is all about War Dogs and Catch 22.
Catch 2-2.
Catch 2-2s. And then you add these two to take
Yeah.
the pin, which I understand. But then it's not about their story anymore. So
No.
my investment just plummeted. There was no investment left for me. So
No,
I enjoyed it, but I wrote down no notes because there was nothing to talk about.
It did feel like, hey, we've got these guys for the weekend. What can we do with them? Why don't we drop them out in this match because we don't really know what to do with the other two teams?
Yeah, but also we needed someone to take the pin, and we can't have Akta and TJP or Drilla and Clark take the pin because we still have a story to tell with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't want
what I mean.
it to end here.
No, it just kind of felt like, more things wrong with it than were right with it, but it wasn't awful to watch.
Yeah, and then you had the addition of Carl being fucking annoying.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, I don't actually hate the guy, even though I joke about him fucking with me on Twitter.
he got less annoying as the card went on.
He did, but he was. I'm not sure if it's just me who found him really annoying.
I think, I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's great. He's not as good as some of the wrestlers they have, but the best guys they have were not available. The best guy they have is Lance Archer, who was in Philly wrestling for Ring of Honor. So
different continent.
So that doesn't help. The next best guy they have is Chase Owens, actually, and he was wrestling on this card in the next match, so he couldn't do it. And so you're kind of going a long way down the line then, because you can't have anyone out. You can't. The best English speakers are the guys who are in War Dogs, and you can't have them because they wouldn't care. Their characters can't do it.
Well,
So,
I wouldn't agree. Chases. I would say one of the Team DK guys is more enjoyable, but they're not here, and Zach doesn't do it.
No, so because he's too big a star. But Chase would have been a better option than.
Well, I'll take
I know
annoying
you.
Ass Cobb.
I'm just saying from an actual commentary point of view, Chase is better than Jeff is. I'm not saying that Chase is a wonderful human being. He's clearly not. But
my issue with Cobb is, apart from that, I find his commentary annoying. He is very caricature of a heel, if that makes sense.
Yes, in fact, Chris Charlton did use the phrase, "Will you stop our Gorilla Monsoon" towards Bobby Heenan as a kind of a, oi, stop trying to be Bobby Heenan. You can't be Bobby Heenan because Bobby's Bobby.
Like he was really angry about Yuya for some reason, and then spoilers. In the next match, he's just raging about Goto and Yoshihashi.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you have no connection to these guys. Why are you so angry at them? You're taking away from the match by involving yourself in a story that doesn't involve you.
Or did involve you 2 years ago, so why are you still angry about it now?
Yeah, that too. But also, I would understand if he's in a storyline with like Yoshihashi and Goto, but as far as I know, he's not going to be in the tag team field. It just felt like he's being a heel to be a heel.
Yes, and if you're going to be bad with them two, why aren't you mad with Chase and Kenta as well?
Because he's a heel, and heels are apparently on each other's side for some reason.
But then later on, he was against Evil, who's also a member of Bullet Club.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, he didn't particularly like Jack Perry or Ren Narita either, and it's like show. Which is fair enough. Yeah.
And it's also like I'm going ahead of script here, But his comments about Yoshihashi, I was like, this is so 2018.
Yes, he's won 3 World Tag Leagues since then, which you haven't.
And he was mocking Yoshihashi for the accident, with Jay White.
Oh God, that's like 5 years ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also kind of mean. It's kind of unnecessary. Like, why?
Yeah.
It makes me, just a second, I need to cough.
So angry, Christie needs to cough.
Yeah, I'm losing my voice. I'm so angry.
Oh, there you go.
No, I'm not angry. It's just I don't understand it. This aversion towards like Goto or Yoshihashi or Yuya, when there's no reason for it.
No. I mean, it was the same stuff he was pulling like when they were feuding with Goto and Hashi 3 years ago, and it wasn't that funny then. And I know it's not supposed to be funny. He's a heel, but it's like it's not endearingly funny like some heels are supposed to be.
And is he supposed to be that kind of heel now?
I don't think so. No.
I don't think United Empire are supposed to be those kind of heels, if they're even heels.
They are oh God, I don't know. What this week? You've got some guys in the United Empire who are definitely heels, and some guys who definitely aren't. But there you go. Oh, there was interesting interaction at the end of the match with TJP because Cobb said, well, do you want to be the captain? Because if you want to be the captain, you have to lead by example, which was a nice bit of commentary, I suppose, in one sense of commenting on TJP's performance, which was a nice kind of subtle nod to move the story along further. But that was about the most revealing thing about his commentary for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, and he talks about not wanting to be a leader again, which I need them to figure out how they feel about this, because it's getting confusing.
Are we going with the flat management structure, or are we going to bring somebody in? You need HR, is what you need in United Empire.
The one moment you are mad that you're not positioned as a leader by some random girl on Twitter.
You are not some random girl on Twitter, Christie.
I am. To him, I am.
Okay, then.
If he even realized I'm a woman. He might not have known. And now he doesn't care, but he's also very angry at TJP for caring. And I'm like, make up your mind.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Yes, let's get to my boys and the worst boy.
Kenta and Chase Owens unsuccessfully defended the IWGP Tag Team Championships against Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi, who take on their 3rd or 4th reign, he says, looking at Cage Match, and this is their 4th reign as IWGP Tag Team Champions. And arguably, back on top of the mountain is the greatest tag team in the world.
Yay!
There you go. Chase Owens and Kenta have had a reign that's gone from reasonably awkward to barely competent by the end of it. They actually looked like a tag team today, which for the most of their reign they have not. So somewhat of a shame that once they've actually got their act together, they still weren't good enough to be.
Not a shame.
From their point of view, I'm not saying from everyone else's point of view, we're glad to see the back of them. But I'm just saying from their point of view. Well, one of them. Yes.
If Kenta could be a tag champion on his own, it would have been fine.
Arguably, he has been.
Kind of, yeah.
But yes.
So this match for me was weird. Because I'm like, on the one hand, I'm trying to ignore Chase Owens. And then on the other hand, I'm trying to enjoy what I kind of feel like is going to be Yoshihashi and Goto winning. But it's hard because Chase Owens keeps showing up. And they keep having close pins, that are almost pins.
Yeah.
And this is the point where I was watching live, so I couldn't even check to see what the result was. Normally I enjoy that, but not when it has to be one and not the other. I think it was a good match. I hate to say it, but I think that's also because of Goto, Yoshihashi, and Kenta, and not so much of Chase Owens.
I mean, we are both harsh on Chase Owens because he's a horrible person. However, he has to be competent at what he does. Wouldn't keep hiring him. They would have got shot of him long ago.
Well, he's probably cheap, and they need someone to lose.
They do, but they keep pushing him. So he's and like we said, he had like the third best match in the New Japan Cup. He's actually on quite a bit of a strong performance streak, shall we say, at the moment, and he carried a lot of this match for Bullet Club. I'm not saying. I'm just being objective.
I'm not.
I saw. I know you're not, but it also doesn't help that when Kenta's wrestling character is to not try very hard, it's going to make Chase Owens look good because that's just the way the characters roll.
It's funny that they're flipped. Like,
yeah,
Kenta's character is he doesn't care, and I'm pretty sure he does care in real life.
Yeah.
Versus Chase Owens seems to care in character, but doesn't care at all in real life.
So it's just like, so his character is like, he does try hard in matches like this, but it is just like, which means he ends up having watchable matches, even though you're going, oh God, not again. Which means we're going to get more of him. So yeah, you're kind of stuck in between.
I wonder what they're going to do with Chase now. I hope he...
G1, I guess. He'll get 3 wins like he normally does and scoot along back to World Tag League.
Chase Owens do? Maybe he can spend like 3 weeks trying to clean the Never belt. And we never see him.
No, I think there's another member of Bullet Club who's quite interested in that Never belt, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
I wasn't trying to spoil anything.
I did not say which member of Bullet Club, did I?
Well, you already designated what faction it was, and yes. I just randomly chose the Never belt because it was dirty.
But I haven't said what happened when and where. I just said.
Okay, it's okay.
Right then, Bishamon. We both like Bishamon.
Yay!
Yay! Should we move on?
Yeah, to the news.
Yes. Well, we've got the Best of Super Juniors lineup announced. Do you want to talk about that first, or do you want to talk about the title match first? We should talk about the title match first.
We should talk about the Best of Super Juniors because that went first.
Yes. Well, the Best of Super Juniors, as you would expect, all of the usual suspects from the junior heavyweight division. Mike and the -1, who really is a TNA wrestler, so it wasn't that surprising. The one that's disappointed Christie the most is Kushida.
Well, it's not so much disappointed as I kind of expected him to be there, and I don't get to see him because he's in TNA. So it's like this. I was expecting this to be a guaranteed time frame where I would be able to watch him, and he won't be there. So that kind of makes me sad. It's not like it's Despy or Hiromu not being there.
I'm wondering, actually thinking about it, is it because Impact just lost Motor City Machine Guns, and Kushida was a big part of that storyline, and they need junior heavyweights to do stuff because they've lost 2 of their biggest stars. And I'm wondering, have they spent a long time building Kushida up in TNA? If they're saying no, you can't do Best of Super Juniors, you can't afford to lose you. Because with Impact Wrestling, it's a bit different because they do one big TV taping for 3 days, and that lasts them for 3 months of television. So if one thing falls in the middle of something else, they can't let Kushida go because they need it. So I think that's probably more likely than a lack of ability, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like we might still see him. We'll get to that later.
Yes.
Are we going to run down all the names of the guys involved?
Yes, let me just find it.
I can do that. I wrote them down.
Oh, you wrote them down. Okay, then you go for it.
Okay. Taguchi, your favorite guy is in it.
Yeah.
Desperado, my favorite guy is in it.
Hang on. Wow. How did Taguchi, my favorite guy?
That was sarcasm again.
Carry on.
Akira and TJP from United Empire.
As I said at the time, the greatest collection of junior heavyweights in the world, and TJP.
Yeah. Well, he likes to think he's a heavyweight now.
He's an open weight, apparently. Carry on.
Kevin Knight. Yo was listed. Hiromu Bushi from and Titan from LIJ. Doki from Just Five Guys. Robbie Eagles and Fujita from TMDK. So Fujita is this is his debut year. which was very excited. And I was kind of worried he wasn't in because it was Robbie Eagles, and then he jumped to the next guy, and that wasn't Fujita. And I'm like, well, wait, we did the Team DK guys, right? But luckily, they did the debuts at the very end, and
Yes.
Fujita showed up anyway.
It's his sixth tournament in a row, though.
Yeah, he's asking people if Chris Samsa if it's a record.
Yeah.
Okay, Ishimori from OG Bullet Club. Kanemaru and Sho from House of Torture. Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney from War Dogs. And then 3 new debuts. Blake Christian.
Yes, from GCW.
Yeah, whom I don't know. Sorry, I'm sure he's great.
He's a very good wrestler. Anna, who I'll be podcasting with tomorrow, can't stand him. Like in the way we can't stand him. Ospreay can't stand him. I don't know. She's not expanded upon this. She just said, can't stand him.
That's fine.
Yes.
Happens to all
maybe
of us.
I will ask her tomorrow, and maybe she'll expand on the reasons why she dislikes him. But yes.
And then the last 2 are Ninja Mac and Hayata from Noah.
2 former GHC Junior Heavyweight and the current GHC Junior Heavyweight champions. Ninja Mac is awesome. Love me some Ninja Mac. He's quite exceptional aerial wrestler. He does things I have no idea how he does them. Also pretty good shoot stylist as well. Really good. And Hayata is just off another planet. He's going to be amazing. He's
Hayata or Hayato? Who are you
Hayata. Yeah. He does things that are just insane. He's older though. He's a lot more experienced and done a lot of GHC tournaments as well. So I'm intrigued as to how those 2 will do. But I think Hayata puts in. Both of them put up. Well, Blake Christian does as well. They put up some interesting matchups with the junior division in New Japan. So. I'm intrigued.
I know Hayata the best out of these 3. I have never seen the other 2, but I had a stint where I watched a lot of Noah in like 3 months, and so I know Hayata, but the other 2 will be completely new to me.
Hayata survives in the GHC Junior division, which is the most chaotic of all divisions.
As Yohei's ex.
Yes, as Yohei's ex. Bless him. Yohei's currently in the faction? The Noah Go faction with Go Shiozaki. True Noah faction. I can't remember what it's called it, but no, Go Shiozaki has a faction. He's in that.
Okay.
Yes, and Hayata's still in Stinger with Ogawa, who was Zack Sabre Jr.'s mentor in Noah. But anywho.
Yeah, and that was the Best of Super Juniors news.
Yes.
It was all very exciting, and we're all very positive about the junior division.
Until 1 minute and 36 seconds after the opening bell of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match, when Yo had something happen to his shoulder that looked awful.
Yeah, dislocated his shoulder.
And just that was that. And they had to call the bell. I couldn't do anything else because he was no fit move to go further forward.
He tried for about 3 moves.
Yeah.
He threw Sho into the ropes, and he hit him with something, and then you could see just the look on his face, and the camera showed that his shoulder was clearly out of socket.
Running on adrenaline. And it's
just trying. I'm pretty sure he was like, this hurts, but maybe it'll go away. Like, things hurt.
Yeah, like a twinge.
You bump something and it's like, give it a few seconds, it'll go away, and it didn't go away. And I'm sure that was the moment he was like, fuck.
Yes. And that was that, which is really awful. She's never much fun to watch. And, then on the fly, because if Fujita
can we, before we get to the fix of the thing.
Yes.
I'm not going to say I cried, but I felt so bad for Yo.
Yes, I did as well. I was going to talk about that afterwards.
Oh,
wasn't-
yeah, okay.
I was going to do the whole match, and then we'll talk about our feelings about the individual people.
Well,
afterwards.
the whole match.
the whole tell the whole story and then go back and talk about individual
Okay.
people.
Do you want to do that first then?
Yeah, let's just tell them, because essentially what happened. Obviously, the match stopped. Then Kosei Fujita came down to ring to challenge Sho for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, but there was an awful lot of like hanging around because they didn't know what was going to go on there.
Well, I think they were popping Yo's shoulder back into socket.
Yes, which I've seen people continue with, but it is not advisable. One should go see a doctor and make sure it's safe before you go on.
Yeah, and I don't think the intention was for him to wrestle, but it's easier to move someone without hurting him if the shoulder is back into place.
And having seen the rest of the segment, there was clearly going to be physical altercation between Fujita and Sho, and Fujita didn't want Yo there injured whilst he was trying to do that, because obviously that would have been dangerous.
And also it's hard. It's going to be hard to do an angle when the entire crowd is still looking at injured Yo on the side.
And then in the midst of all that, Dookie also came down to ringside to challenge Sho for the IWGP Championship. Yo was moved out of the ring. There was a bit of back and forth on the microphones, and then when Sho was looking at the crowd, Fujita did a slingshot drop kick and smiled and left a Dookie to it. So Dookie stood over Sho, took the championship belt, said thank you very much, Fujita, and took it with him. So we have a title picture that is murky once again, which is kind of the way of things in the junior heavyweight division at the moment. But let's first talk about Yo, because it was awfully sad to see what happened, because, you know, Yo's finally got the big one. He's finally got a shot at the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, which is something he's never really had. I think he's had one title match since the Pinky 3K broke up. Finally has the big angle, finally has all the momentum behind him, and it's just so sad to see any wrestler be injured, but this one was really difficult to watch. What's your thoughts, Christie?
Yeah. Yo has been injured before, quite severely, and he's gotten back into the swing of things. He's not been given anything for the longest time, feels like, and he has the big angle with his guy, you know, Sho and Yo. They are a package even when they're apart, and I feel like Yo was going to win. I'm going to talk about why afterwards, but I feel like he was going to win, and then like a minute into the match, it ends, and you could see it in his reaction. It was crying, and yes, that must have been pain, but I also think it's just devastation at the fact that this was his chance, this was his moment, and it's not going to happen. He's not going to win the belt. He's going to be out for a while. And when he comes back, the chance that he'll be in the same position is slim. Like, he might get a title shot again, but will it be against Sho? Will it be with this story in mind? Will it be this kind of character for both of them? Who knows? Will he be chosen to win?
Yeah.
You have no idea. So all of that combined, I just felt awful.
Yeah.
And I felt like Yo was going to win because of the story for the entire show. Am I going to spoil?
No, I mean, yeah. Again, we're kind of going in hindsight here. Once you've looked at the whole show, haven't you? So
yeah. I spoil the one?
Let's not, because you got through. We got.
Okay, I'll mention that later. But it feels like a story that's being told this show would have been impacted by this match as well.
Yeah.
And so it felt kind of that way to me. Also because of the way Fujita and Doki reacted to Sho. Sho did great, by the way. Like the moment this happened and it appeared that Yo was injured, he took the title and he celebrated and he was gleeful about it, and he took some of the focus away from Yo.
Yeah.
And he did what he had to do. He was a great heel, and it must have been hard because I'm sure those guys had close friends.
Yeah.
after years of being a tag team. But he did his job, and then out came Fujita. And Fujita kind of felt like he was rushed out there.
Yeah,
When I saw him.
Yeah, he didn't need to be out there for about another 2 minutes, really, to be honest with you.
But it was distracting the audience
yeah.
from, and Show's reaction also. He looked kind of taken aback by it. And then Doki came out, and to me, I like it. This is completely based on what I saw in the ring, so I could have been wrong. It felt like Fujita and Doki were explaining the story to Show. Like they were saying stuff, and Show was reacting to that. So my assumption is, Yo was supposed to win.
Yeah.
So Show was not factored into after the match, like the challenge. They saw Yo was injured, and they were like, Fujita, go out there and stall until Yo is gone. Say something about wanting the title. And then Doki afterwards was sent in, and I made the joke that Doki had to put his mask on before he could come out. And clearly he wasn't ready, because the match was supposed to be at least 15 minutes. And Doki was sent out with make this challenge. And I think Doki was also the one who told Show, you can wrestle the one of us who beats the other.
Yeah.
So that's my assumption, that Doki was told after they decided what to do, this is the plan, and Show didn't know.
Yeah.
So Show just reacted to what they did.
Yes. A lot of booking on the fly.
Yeah. And it also showed that they are really capable at what they do.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how it looked, but it felt pretty seamless.
Yeah.
Otherwise, especially the interaction between the three once Yo was gone.
Yeah.
And I think that shows that they're so good at their job. But it's fucked up.
This just sucks. It really does.
Especially just after the Best of Super Junior
announcement
celebration, and so early in the match, and poor Yo.
It does remind me of AJW Wrestling Grand Prix in 1990, where Kira Okuto was wrestling Minami Toyota in the opening match and did a dive off the top rope to the floor and caught her knee on the guardrail, and she tore a knee.
Yeah.
And she'd literally torn a kneecap, and she was fine with that. She was ready to go. She was like hobbling on one leg, and Toyota doesn't really know what to do. And then one of the Matsunaga brothers has to go and says, "You cannot go on. You can't stand." Because she'd been booked to win the tournament. She had 3 more matches to win that night, and she didn't cry until they told her she couldn't wrestle.
Yeah, that felt like Yo to me as well. Like the crying must have been pain.
Yeah,
but I think it was more that at that moment when he was walking out of ringside, that's when he realized.
No, I've got so much more work to do because of this.
Yeah, and also that's my dream over. Like if he had been the one who was supposed to win, that was his big moment. His title against his guy.
Yeah.
You know?
We might get back there yet.
Hopefully.
They do like telling the story and making. Gator does like finishing stories off, let's be honest.
Yeah. And
he is
a face, and that's an advantage.
Yeah.
He can come back as the great hero, you know?
Exactly. That was the Terry Funk thing, wasn't it? Always like get beat up and come back from the back after you've been taken to hospital.
Yeah.
So yes.
Right.
Oh,
about the shoulder dislocation, that kind of means he's out of Best of Super Juniors, I'm assuming.
One would assume, unless he just I'm assuming so. But you are speculating Kushida, I assume.
That's my assumption, because that feels like the easiest fit.
It depends on when the next Impact Wrestling tapings are, doesn't it? You explain why, and I will see. I will see if I can find out when the next Impact Wrestling tapings are.
Yeah, well, you need a guy who's comfortable in this environment, who knows most of the wrestlers, because he's supposed to replace Yo. So you kind of can't have another new guy. I mean, you can, but it feels like it'd be easier to have someone who's been there before. Kushida's already been part of this storyline. He's been on the very show that Yo got injured on.
Yeah.
So that's my assumption, based on nothing except that he's the former junior ace. So if you need someone to jump in,
Yeah.
that would be my choice. You know he's going to have good matches, and you know he knows how New Japan works.
When's Best of Super Juniors dates? Do you know?
No, I can look it up.
Best of Super Juniors 2024. What dates? Not line up. Oh, it'd be on the Wikipedia page. It'd be on the cage match page, wouldn't it, for New Japan?
Wait, Best of Super Juniors, May 11th.
May 11th. Yeah. There is a TV taping on the 18th of May and 19th of May for Impact Wrestling.
18th. They have a show on both those days.
Then in that case, then we won't be Kushida.
No.
No, unlikely to be Kushida. Unless they can write him out of Impact Wrestling. But I think that's going to be problematic if you've just lost Sabin and
But they are
Shelley.
writing Kevin Knight out.
Yeah.
Is Kevin Knight not TNA?
Yeah, Kevin Knight's in the tournament, so I suppose they've already written that show, but it depends on how Impact feel about losing. But here's the thing: is Kevin Knight's signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Kushida's signed to Impact Wrestling.
I guess.
So
then
it's
it could be anyone.
Yeah, and it would be like, I'm assuming there was an agreement between TNA and New Japan, like, hey, can we have him when we need him? And they'd be like, yes, within reason. But having just lost Shelley and Sabin, who have been the main focus of that show for the last 2 years.
Is there a New Japan Strong Junior?
I don't
watch it, no.
Oh, who tagged with Thingy? He's pretty good. Hang on a second. I've got to go back. Tag with Taguchi in Best of Super Juniors Tag League earlier this year, so I have to go back and think about him. Let's see his matches.
Isn't that he's got initials, right?
Yeah. DKC. He's pretty good.
That's the one. I was like, I know he's got initials because I watched that tournament.
Yeah, I'd go with him. He's a good guy to have. Yeah.
Because I don't see them putting either of the Young Lions in.
No.
So you need to go look outside of the you could go with like Taka.
Yeah. But it depends if Taka wants to do it. He has commitments elsewhere as well, doesn't he? So
yeah, but I'm looking at like the New Japan roster, as in who is still.
There ain't many juniors left.
That's the point. That most of the juniors are in.
Yeah.
So Taka, it's not going to be Gedo.
No, it can't be Jado either.
No.
So Taka
is the only
qualified person. And that would be quite a story if he got strung some wins together. Like his first tournament was 1993.
Yeah, but the thing also is, if Yo were to win the title, you've just lost the champion. So he was probably going to be built quite strongly. So either you have to rewrite the entire story for Best of Super Juniors, which I'm assuming they already figured out.
Yeah.
Or you have to give someone that position from outside the company, or have it be like Taka, which would be funny.
I mean, but with Taka, you could like tell the story of like the veteran trying to regain his luster, especially after that's such a dire tag league that,
Or it's a funny option.
Yeah.
Jack Perry.
He did say he wanted to enter it, but they very much seem to be pushing him as an heavyweight, even though he's smaller than most of the junior heavyweights.
Yeah, but you could.
You could do, but
Jeff Cobb also wants to be in the juniors, but that's
yes,
he doesn't deserve it.
Gino could be in the juniors now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Gino. Why not Gino? There you go.
I'm going through the list. Who else? No, Tiger Mask.
Tiger Mask, yeah, he's doable. I'm not sure if he could stand the pace for that length of time. I'm trying to think of any guests they could get. I mean, there's probably
CMLL guys.
It's either CMLL or you could get another Noah guy. Noah's going to be.
Yeah, but then you've got 3 Noah guys.
You have 3 Noah guys.
I feel like they would go with like a strong guy because they don't have any, right?
DKC is the obvious one. I would think that at that particular point, you could borrow somebody from. I'm trying to think. The guy that tagged with Yo last year from Michinoku Pro. Yeah, because he just left Michinoku Pro. He just graduated Michinoku Pro. So.
And he has a storyline with Doki and with Yo. Like you could have what Despy did with the Doki, like Despy suggested him, and make that the story. Yeah. Like Yo suggested Musashi.
What's Leo Rush doing? Why isn't he in this tournament?
I saw someone suggest that, but I feel like if they wanted Leo Rush, they would have put him in the tournament already.
And I suppose Mustafa Ali, but again, you're going to have the same issues, X Division champion, and they've got TV tapings on those days, so they can't really take him out.
I like the Musashi suggestion.
Yeah, I think Musashi...
There's an instant story for at least 2 people in the Best of Super Juniors.
Yeah.
Well, Yo is not in, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense then.
And I like you could have Musashi trying to avenge Yo against Sho.
Yes, I like it, but it also kind of like winds on from like he replaced Leo because Leo was injured, and it's just like he's the chaos go-to guy when we need him from outside the company. Yeah, I like that idea.
Anyway, so those are our assumptions, and what should be someone wildly different.
Yes, wild speculation, not something we normally go for on the Troopany show, but
if we get it right.
We look like geniuses, and if we don't, we look like morons. Anyway.
We do that anyway.
Shall we move on to the next match, which was John Moxley and Shota Umino. They defeated House of Torture, Jack Perry, and Ren Narita in 14 minutes and 32 seconds in an entertaining little brawl. Kind of continue telling the story of Shota Umino and Jack Perry. That's about it. I suppose what you've been saying about Shota learning to work with other people could be said here, as Shota took the shot from friend Narita's push-up board.
You're learning from me because this is one of my comments.
Yes, I think that's kind of the thing you've been saying, and I think that kind of like stood out to me in this particular match of Shota trying to teach somebody, but it like notable antisocial person John Moxley is perhaps not the person to learn teamwork from.
Yeah, but he is someone you can learn, what's the word? Like sacrifice from.
Yes, true. That's
what Shota did here.
Yes, he did. But thoroughly entertaining match because it had John Moxley in it, and I like John Moxley a lot. Not to say that the people were not good, but I still not completely taken.
Oh no, she's going to think I hate Shota again.
I don't hate Shota. I just think he's blancmange, and I like Jack Perry a lot. I think he's really cool, and I like the growth he's shown in his character since he got to New Japan. And he annoys CM Punk, so that's always going to be a top comedy.
Let's not involve CM Punk in our discussions.
No, me, Alex, and Chelsea are considering a 4th installment of the CM Punk story.
You know what I love about CM Punk?
What's that?
Is that I have no opinion on the guy because I missed all of the drama, and I love it because I don't have to get involved.
There you go. And Ren Narita is also blancmange at the moment. He's slowly defining himself slightly more, but. Yes, it's just a match that I can unplug my brain and enjoy for having a big brawly brawl type match. I'm quite happy with that. I didn't hate it, but there's nothing in it from like an investment point of view for me because apart from Jack Perry, I'm not particularly invested in any of them. John Moxley, I'm a bit, but yeah. Anyway, your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, it was very hard to get into this match for me because I was still completely on Yo.
Yes.
And Twitter was going crazy about the Yo stuff and all the implications. So I don't think I did it justice, as in paid enough attention to this match. I think it must have been the same way for a lot of fans in the venue. So I think that worked against them as well. The same for the audience watching from back home. So that it took a while for me to get into it. I did enjoy that the crowd at one point had a "Let's go Moxley" chant going, which I thought was sweet. Like cheer on the American using
An
English.
American style, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. And Jack Perry doing some very interesting moves. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, I did not know this, so this is based on what I saw on my Twitter timeline. But
Yeah.
he did an Okada move, Nicholas Jackson move, and a Matt Jackson move.
Intriguing. So
So
yes, I did not notice them because I was kind of just watching in the flow of the match and didn't really pay attention to the Twitter
neither did I notice it, because I for one, I don't know moves. I don't know move names, and I don't watch AEW, so I didn't know that they were Young Bucks moves.
That's kind of a knock on Punk as well. But yes.
Yeah, he also did a move that Punk often does, apparently.
I'm amazed he hasn't tried the Anaconda Vice, to be honest with you, because he's in New Japan.
He's gone to Kenta. Can I use your finisher just for one match, just to fuck with the fans?
I go Tenzan, because Tenzan, he borrowed the Anaconda Vice off Tenzan.
But the go to sleep that CM Punk does is Kenta's move.
Yes, true.
So that would be funny.
I think Perry's growing into his role as an aggravating little shit.
Yeah, but it also feels like he might be bound for the Okada Young Bucks faction, whatever that's called.
Possibly. The Elite. They kicked Omega
out. That's just the Elite? Okay.
Just the Elite. Yeah, they kicked Kenny out and Hangman a while back.
They kicked all the nice people out.
Yes, because they're bad. They're evil bad guys. Now, you're not seeing like Nicholas and Matthew these days. They dress like Okada.
We've just established that I don't watch AEW.
I still have thought you would have seen these two gentlemen in Okada style Inoki.
I've seen some gifs, but that's it. Yes. About it.
Yeah,
I don't even press any videos that show.
Yes, they've got rid of Kenny and Hangman, and now the Elite is Okada-fied. Oh, there you go. It
does make me wonder if Jack Perry is going to leave New Japan sooner than I anticipate. If he's
they've just put T-shirts out with him on them.
I know, but like, if he's already flirting with, apparently one of the Jacksons also referenced him on AEW.
It's a possibility, but I think they want him to be gone a bit longer. How can you miss someone if they never go away? It's a cornetism, but he's not wrong with that one.
I get it, but they're already like doing all the references.
It's been 2 months. Give him a chance. I think it was a bad move if it does happen. Put it that way.
I agree, and I'd like to see Jack Perry here more. But
having said that, I suppose to AEW fans, they haven't seen him since August, so I suppose it is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And put it to New Japan fans, we've only had him for a month, so it's like.
Yeah.
Can we have a bit longer, please?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And then the comment you made about Shota and learning.
Yeah.
That's also one of the comments I had. Like, he took the shot from Mox. It's like he's finally realizing that being an ace involves being there for others and not for yourself.
Yes.
Which I think is character growth. So that makes me happy.
Very good.
And what would have made a lot of people in the fandom happy is that there were no House of Torture shenanigans.
Yes, this is true. That was all saved for the next match.
Yeah, but it is kind of telling, though.
Yes, maybe, but I do think House of Torture go in ebbs and flows with that stuff. Because
the last couple of shows there were shenanigans pretty much every match.
Yeah, I think on the house shows they do more shenanigans. But I think
this felt like the House of Torture match.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, so
you've got Jack Perry and you've got Renalita, and Shota's whole story is being anti House of Torture.
I s-
Shingo is not anti House of Torture. He's just anti evil
no, but I
and
also
the bell.
think with her, you can overbook everything if you want to.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. That
Yeah,
you're talking from New Japan point of view. I'm
yeah,
talking from the kayfabe point of view, the character point of view. Like, it's interesting that this is the match that doesn't have any House of Torture shenanigans
yeah. But
when it
again, it's
feels
not.
like.
It should do.
No, if well, yeah, I think so because it feels like this is a direct attack on House of Torture. Shota is fighting House of Torture
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
Shingo, who's fighting evil for the belt.
yeah. But I think, yeah, in kayfabe it doesn't make sense. But then again, in kayfabe House of Torture doesn't make sense a lot at the time either, as I'd previously discussed. But from a booking point of view, I think it was just like we can't keep doing that. And I do notice that like they do calm things down on the bigger shows just because otherwise it would just be
Well, I think there's
all
a
the time.
different reason for it, but we'll get to it after next match.
Okay, Shingo Takagi defeated Evil in 21 minutes and 14 seconds in a full-on House of Torture shenanigans-style match with special referee Yoshinori Kanemaru and Hiromu Takahashi also as a special guest referee before Red Shoes came in and stopped
None of
all the
whom had any training.
No, and nor licenses apparently.
Yeah.
And Shingo eventually beat Evil in 21 minutes and 14 seconds, and it was the usual faff you expect. But there was a bit of a wrestling match that occurred in between, so it was better than it would normally be. We'll talk about what happened after the match because that requires some unpacking and some delicate language choices. But in the meantime, your thoughts on this particular ballyhoo?
I don't have any thoughts on the match itself because I feel like the implications were way bigger to me than the actual match.
Yeah.
Because now I get to talk about it. Another reason why I think Yo was supposed to win is House of Torture was supposed to be vanquished this
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
I think Yo was supposed to win. House of Torture lost versus Shota and Moxley. Evil lost to Shingo, which is also why I think they didn't have any interference from House of Torture in the other match, because this was supposed to be the one where House of Torture lost.
Yeah.
And if you put a lot of House of Torture goons in that match, then you can't conceivably have Shota and Mox win. Like,
Yeah.
7 against 2 is not reasonable.
No.
So it just felt like this was the show where that ended House of Torture, like not literally, but
Put them
ended.
back in their box for a while.
Yeah, it ended
Yeah.
the story that focused on House of Torture, and it moved from House of Torture to what you wanted to talk about, the War
Indeed.
Dogs.
War Dogs, because after this particular match, Shingo Takagi and the rest of LIJ were attacked by Clark Connors, Driller Dan Maloney, and Gabe Kidd, who grabbed the microphone. Said some very
Gabe Young Child.
Gabe Young Child, who said some very rude things about New Japan Professional Wrestling and how much
Not
he
just about New Japan.
how much
Tanahashi.
how much he hated House of Torture matches and how much it was shit because it wasn't what New Japan was supposed to be about, and how much he hated New Japan for letting it happen, which is remarkable for something for a Bullet Club member to say about other Bullet Club members, and then turned his attention to Hiroshi Tanahashi, who he said may as well go to Tony Khan's office, take his trousers down and bend over and tell him to do what he wants.
Yeah.
And then finish that off with, "Oh, don't worry, I'm still as mad as I will be because I can stab him and remind him of his old bitch," which goes back to an older story about Tanahashi, which I'm sure we can relive shortly. And then challenge Shingo Takagi for the Never Openweight Championship.
Which was expected. But
Yes, it just went a long way around to doing it.
yeah, okay. So I didn't watch the actual footage because
Yes.
I have a personal issue with
Shouty.
very shouty, angry wrestler shouting at the camera. And Gabe Kidd does that a lot. So the moment he showed up and grabbed the microphone, I I exited out of the window. The tab, which isn't anything about Gabe Kidd. He's doing his job. It's fine. But I just can't handle that. And then so I only saw the comments on Twitter. Gabe Kidd has very flowery language.
Yes.
Puts a lot of thought into being an asshole.
Yeah. He's really good at it.
He is, but the constant worry for me is that I think he's going to cross the line. And he kind of already did.
Yeah.
Because talking about, getting basically assaulted for whatever he thinks Tony is going to give New Japan, or is giving New Japan, or doing to New Japan, is that's a bit far.
Yeah.
Talking about a man getting stabbed by his old bitch, is already crossing the line for me.
Yeah.
So I
think as well. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, it's fine.
As well, I think it's up to him to talk about it. But obviously, he has well-documented mental health problems, and it's his choice to talk about that out loud. But I think he has to think about the responsibility of what fans who also have mental health problems see when he sees them do that, and how he's representing them.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me so much, because I don't think that people who have mental health issues need to be perfect or perfectly
No, I don't. I don't think so either. But I think you don't have to, do you? You see what I mean?
Yeah, I just see a wrestler who makes comments that toe the line of going too far.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to.
No.
I'm on the fence whether I think this is going too far.
I think this is as far as you can go.
Yeah,
I think
this is on the line, and I would understand if people think it went too far.
Mm-hmm.
And I could also understand people who say it's fine.
Yeah.
But if he does stuff like this regularly, he is going to at one point hit a line which just is going too far.
Yeah.
So that's my worry about Gabe Kidd. I'm not sure he understands where the line is, or if he is completely in control of the things he says.
No.
When I look at David Finlay, I know and feel like he's thought about everything he's going to say.
Yeah.
I think that Gabe Kidd does it based on emotion.
Which is fine if you've got a filter.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, Will Ospreay has had to have words with him in the past about how he's presenting himself in public. We'll tell you that, when Will has been the voice of reason, he's known for not having a filter, and up until now, that's been advantageous for him. But there is always the point where you go,
Yeah. And I think the advantage he has is that the Japanese crowd has no idea what he's saying.
No.
So it's only going to come from our side of the pond, if there are issues.
Yeah, and I think they will react to the swear words, obviously, because they know what they mean. And if he just did a constant stream of swear words, he would have got the same effect.
Yeah, but there's also a way to insult someone without going that route.
Yes.
And I hope that he asked Tanahashi if it was okay to make these comments.
One would assume. But maybe not.
Like, it's also kind of a big deal to reference him getting stabbed by his ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Which is kind of an open secret all New Japan fans know about, but it's now kind of being entered into the story, into the universe.
Which is it's the issue I had. I mean, the issue I have with it is shoot stuff doesn't necessarily make money. If you're using it to illustrate how unstable you are, which is what he's doing here, fair enough to an extent, aside from, people you offend and all the other stuff. But he's been doing so well without it, why bother?
Yeah, but I also feel like if that's the point, to show how unstable you are, there are so many ways you could do that without nearing that line.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, yeah, he's been around the line for a while, but there comes a point where you just go, ooh, no.
Yeah, and I feel like he's so popular that a lot of people would just accept it.
Yeah.
And that might make him feel like it's okay, and
Yeah.
make him go even further.
This is the trouble as well. Yeah, because
you're reinforcing it, which is fine as long as it's okay material,
Yeah.
But at some point, what he says, if it goes too far, it's going to outweigh his popularity.
I also think the best thing to do is to keep him off the microphone for a while and let this sit, because then dwell on it, talk about it, use it as a tool. Whereas if he just keeps talking diatribes like this, it will just wear off, and you won't, it just suddenly becomes normal. It's not a look forward to promo because Gabe's going to be exciting, and it's just Gabe drilling out vitriol for no apparent reason.
But that's also the thing. He's already so popular, and he's already done this for so long. Why are you suddenly turning it up? You don't need to.
No, you're there. You're already over. Don't worry about it. You'll get there.
I do feel like I don't want people who listen to think that I have a huge issue with Gabe Kidd for doing this. It's on the line. It's not over the line for me, and it's just I want to discuss it because it's been kind of a worry for me. It's not that I'm like, cancel him.
No. I think this is the issue. Is like, he's got a character that works, and you keep throwing things until they stick, and everything's stuck so far, so why wouldn't this? But equally, it's like, yeah, but there is a fine line between being a heel and just being a jerk. And you're verging into the realm of just being a jerk. There is no reason to do this unless you're riling up Tanahashi. But if you're riling up Tanahashi, he has no titles at the moment. Why are you riling him up? He's the boss.
Yeah, and I don't think he's riling up Tanahashi. He's which is funny because he's a heel. He's trying to interest the fans.
Yeah, that's
to get the smart marks who are not anti-Tony, but involved in the Tony stuff.
Yes.
And who like shoot info, all the fans who would know that Tanahashi got stabbed.
But they're already watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. You're not appealing to it. You're not growing that audience. You're just appealing to people already watching.
It's kind of like, he kind of feels like the Kenny Omega Bullet Club era to me.
Yeah.
He wants the fans to like him, and he already knows fans like him.
Yeah.
And comments like these make fans like him more when he's a heel. And interestingly enough, who wasn't out there?
Mr. Finlay.
Mr. Finlay, the one guy who's gatekeeping everyone from just seeing War Dogs as the good guys.
Yeah.
Is their favorite faction.
I guess we'll have to see how it plays out.
Because I feel like David Finlay is the contrast to Gatekeep
definitely.
heel.
I think as well, they've kind of panicked and they need to do something with him because now Alex Coughlin's not there.
yeah, I guess so.
Which we haven't talked about. Alex Coughlin has unfortunately been medically retired, which is really sad because he was really good. And I hoped he was going to have a long career, and it sucks.
Yeah, and I hope whatever he decides to do, I hope he can do it healthily and find joy in it.
I know.
And if he never wants to, he's not going to wrestle again, but if he never wants anything to do with wrestling, I would understand, and I just hope he's well.
Yes, me too. Anywho, shall we get to the main event?
The match.
The match. The best match on the card. IWGP World's Heavyweight Champion Tetsuya Naito successfully defended against stablemate Yota Tsuji 34 minutes and 26 seconds of an excellent professional wrestling match. There was some consultation online about Naito's physical state and Tsuji's lack of experience, and I'm like, are you watching the same wrestling match I'm watching? Because I'm like, what? Yes, Naito is not the wrestler he was 5 years ago, but he's one of the sharpest minds in pro wrestling history. And while Tsuji hasn't got the poise to really do a half-hour match justice, he did an incredible job in this one. And his natural ability is just, his natural talent and his natural athleticism just carries him through. Is it the best match they possibly have? No. Is it the match that they have to get to the best possible match they have? Yes, it absolutely is. And this just flew by. 34 minutes. Just, I do agree. I think it was Striga who said Tsuji's the explosive guy. You don't need him to do half-hour matches. I don't disagree with that. But it's New Japan, and the expectation is he has to. So he's kind of got to figure out.
It helps him to grow if he has some of these matches.
Yeah, he's got to figure that out if he's going to be a New Japan main eventer, because they have to wrestle for half an hour.
Yeah, and it's better to have a 30-minute match and have it maybe not be the best at this point in his career than if you save all the 30-minute matches for later on when he's already supposed to be a big guy, and then have him do his first couple of 30-minute matches and he ends up not being able to perform as well.
Yeah, and Tetsuya Naito was a menace, as he usually is, through this entire
That's
match.
why we love him and hate him and find him annoying, but still love him.
Yes, especially at the end of the match where he managed to kick out the owner of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and be thoroughly annoyed that the new card game didn't involve a carp player on his card, and refused to hold the jumbo-sized playing card of the new Bushy Road card game for the Japanese Major League Baseball. But generally speaking, this is kind of what I expected to happen. And of course, Jon Moxley came down to challenge Naito at the end of this particular show. And again, Menace Naito had to explain in English what was going to happen on Friday.
in kid English, like he was, and like he was talking to a kid, not like Naito was a kid.
Yes.
The Japanese guy is explaining in very easy English
to Moxley.
To a fluent English speaker.
Moxley looks suitably aggravated, so that should be a bit of a corker on come Friday night in Chicago. Not that either of us will be watching, because we're not paying money to watch Matt Riddle. Anyway, what's your thoughts on this particular matchup?
I really enjoyed it, and I think these guys worked really well. Like, this is the best match you're going to have, because Naito is on the, sorry to say this, decline. Physically. Tsuji is on the way up, but Naito's never going to be physically this good.
No.
Again. So
no.
this is the best you're going to get.
This is it.
Yeah.
What I disagree with is people saying that he's lost it completely. It's like, no, he hasn't. He's not as good as he was. No, absolutely not. However, his ability to pace a match to his strengths is still there. And he knows what to do and which buttons to press and which triggers to pull and when to pull them.
Yeah, we talked about this offline. A comment. Lyric Wrestling. I love her, and we're mutuals, and I agree with a lot of the things she says.
Yeah.
But she made a tweet which I kind of agree with, but kind of disagree with, and I'll just quote it. Naito's passion to wrestle 25+ minute main event matches on the regular is 100% there, but his 2024 gas tank is not. I agree with that. He's not physically where he maybe wants to be. Making this reign a long one won't help anyone. It sucks as fans of his, but we gotta be for real. Now, that I don't agree with.
Absolutely not. I don't agree with it either. And I love Lyric too. And she has an awful lot of great things to say about pro wrestling. You should follow her on Twitter. Or X, or whatever you call it nowadays. But I disagree with that, because just from a financial point of view, he makes money hand over fist in Japan Pro Wrestling right now. There is no argument about that. He's the whole show.
And like I quote tweeted, Naito is not about the quality matches.
No.
He has them.
Yeah.
And he certainly had more when he was physically more able to have them. But Naito is about Naito, about the fan investment, about the love for him.
Yeah.
And he is known to have some awkward matches. He is known, like the famous Naito shirt matches that fans talk about.
Yeah.
The matches where he never takes his shirt off.
Yes.
the phone it in matches.
Yeah.
Like he has them.
Yeah,
but,
I was just gonna say, like, the Destino itself is a scrappy, awful finisher that he rarely gets right anyway.
And
but you don't care.
A lot of the times his first attempt is only halfway there, and you can see him decide, well, I'll do another one then. and that's fine. That's Naito. Like I said, Naito could have 10 like average matches, and fans would just be just as invested in him as they are now because he's Naito.
The one guy he reminds me of as a wrestling mind, and people will laugh when I say this, but he's Andre the Giant. People loved Andre, or right up until the very end of his career, and Andre knew it. And Andre was there to make the matches for those people who loved watching him wrestle, and he had matches he really enjoyed having that were exceptionally watchable. If you don't believe me, go back to Champion Tag League in '92 and the matches he has with that, tagging with Giant Baba, and it's probably the last series of great matches he has. And he could barely walk 6 months later, but he had the best matches him and Baba could possibly have to finish third in the tournament. And everybody bumped from all night because it's Andre the Giant. You know,
right.
And it's like, but Andre had a super sharp wrestling mind, because who taught Andre about wrestling? It was Vince McMahon Sr., and no one knew more about how to make matches, how to book shows, how to make people stars than Vince McMahon Sr. did. You know, and Andre had the wrestling brain to go, I can't do what I used to be able to do, but I don't need to, because I'm Andre the motherfucking Giant. And Tetsuya Naito is Tetsuya Naito. You do not need anything else but that name on the marquee, and he will make magic with whoever you put him in there with. No, it will not be the matches he had with Okada, nor will it be the matches he had with Tanahashi, but they will be exceptionally watchable matches, and they will make money like the mint.
Yeah, and Naito now is he's moved from the storyteller who had amazing matches to making the story even more important, because he can't have the high drama, high stakes matches anymore.
No, because his neck is made of rubber bands and his knees are made of hope.
But that's not an issue, because the story has always been what's intriguing about Naito.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. He didn't really need to do all those ridiculous matches that he had, but without them, the legend won't be anywhere near so as intriguing as it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Naito and the love people have for Naito transcends any matches.
Yeah, that's it. And if you love like epic 45-minute spot fest with massive storytelling and callbacks and all that stuff that you got with Omega and Okada and various other people, you're probably not going to get that this year. Sorry, but it doesn't matter, because watching Naito is still going to be a thrill ride no matter what happens.
Right.
So yeah, that's the way it is, and he's going to give people room to develop, because he needs people to wrestle. He needs to have people he can go with, you know. And Yota Tsuji proved that he can go at that level. Not quite well enough yet, but it'll be there in time.
Close though, because there was a moment in the match where Naito got gene blasted, and Tsuji just didn't have the energy to cover him.
Yeah.
Which basically implied if Tsuji had been able to cover him there, he would have won the title.
Exactly.
So he's this close.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing that's got. That's the thing you've got to come. And he has John Moxley to face next Friday.
Can I make one comment about Naito before we get to the Moxley bit?
Yes.
one thing I think is a detriment about Naito.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to get a lot of people angry. I think I prefer Naito versus people who aren't young guys. Because Naito is better as the underdog.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I think that he could do it with certain young guys. I think he would have a better match with Uemura.
But I still think in a 30-minute match, you need someone to dominate Naito.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of the young guys are at a position where they could comfortably fill a 30-minute match, because if they're the ones doing the dominating, they have to come up with everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think the old Narita could, but I'm not sure the current Narita could, because it wouldn't match his character. But that's the only person I could think of who could do it like that. So
that's my only thing about seeing Naito versus a young guy. I think the advantage for this match is that Tsuji is such a power guy, and Naito is a smart one, the wily one, that they could alternate between who was on top.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Naito's character is more compelling, I think, when he's the underdog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in a match like this, he doesn't feel like the underdog.
No. Well, no.
And that's with Tsuji, who is like the powerful one.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's why, like, I imagined him versus Shota.
Yeah.
And I don't see that going well. And I'm told they had a match that didn't go well in the past.
Yeah, last year it was all right. It wasn't great.
And I think that might be the point. You need a lot of experience to be able to lead a 30-minute match where you're the one on top.
Yes.
For most of it.
Yeah. And traditionally speaking, heels have called matches. That's kind of the way it goes. Unless you're Steve Austin, who told everyone he was deaf, so he could lead matches anyway.
Okay.
He was genuinely hard of hearing, but he was just like, "Can I call this? Because I can't really hear that well." And then he would just.
That's smart.
Anyway. Yes. So
but yes. Yeah, that was my one comment that wasn't, this is great.
No, I completely agree with you.
It's just one thing that stood out to me a little.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, definitely. Right then, yes, next Friday. New Japan, Moxley versus your Tetsuya Naito there in Chicago.
Windy City Riot.
Indeed. Mustafa, hang on. Yeah, you've got Tomohiro Ishii versus Nick Nemeth in a non-title match. That seems slightly pointless, but I suppose it's on the card.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Nemeth versus Tanahashi.
Yes.
As like a dream match for Nemeth.
But he's not well.
But he's still injured, so it became Ishii.
Jack Perry versus Shota Umino to finish off that story, which should be interesting. New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Title 4 Corners match. Guerrillas of Destiny versus Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler, who have buried the hatchet ever since the breakup of Team Lawler. TMDK and the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Joel Nelson and Royce Isaacs, who turned heel on Tom Lawler, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of guys you don't care about.
No. Are we going to talk about what we think is going to happen? Or
you can. I just wondered if you had any comments about that.
I'm assuming TMDK is winning.
That would make the most sense because they need a tag team title as they don't have one.
But then it's the strong titles and they might want them on strong guys.
I would think Rosser and Lawler would be the interesting team to have them on. But I think West Coast Wrecking Crew, who are the long-term tag team aces of that particular division, would make the most sense.
Because, we didn't mention this, by the way.
Who's that?
Did we? That Yuya challenged? Oh, we did. Yuya challenged for the IWGP titles.
Which I assume was with his tag team partner, whose name escapes me. Where's the hat with the black trousers? Name? Yes.
Taichi.
That's the one. There you go.
But no, that's an assumption because they haven't said anything.
No.
It could be Sonata, and that Taichi is going to do the singles stuff for a while.
Possibly.
We don't know.
Both are former IWGP Tag Team Champions. So
Yeah, I would like Yuya and Sanada a lot, actually. Because it's kind of like a mirror for Yuya.
Yeah.
And he could learn a lot from Sanada, who has a lot of experience as a tag team wrestler. And has kind of... neither of Taichi or Sanada have a similar style to Yuya. But I feel like personality-wise, Sanada and Yuya are a bit more similar.
But Taichi and you did do World Tag League last year.
They did, but it depends where you want to go. Because also, what do you want to do with Sanada?
True. He is kind of stuck right now.
He's kind of done as a singles wrestler for a bit. So why not make him a tag guy, which he has a history of doing, and then have Taichi be the singles one?
Okay.
That's my thought. But that's I hope it's Team DK. I could see it be one of the strong teams, but also they already have something going for them. They have a storyline going, right? Between those two teams.
Gerald Nelson and Roy Size, West Coast Wrecking Crew, and Fred Ross and Tom Waller have an angle going on right now. Yeah,
so maybe that's their focus, and then the title ends up being on GMDK. Sorry?
Stephanie Vaco versus AZM.
Oh, yeah. I was going to go back for a second.
Okay.
Shota and Jack Perry?
Yes.
Who do you have winning?
Perry.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think overall it'll be... Yeah, it doesn't make sense for Shota to win it. He's just one... Yeah. None of the other House of Torture are on this card, so I'm assuming that if Perry beats Umno by himself, he's proved something, and there you go.
It depends. Like, if he's going to go to AEW, I could see him, lose.
I think he's going to be the biggest heel in the building because they're in Chicago. So
he is. It depends what New Japan wants.
Yeah, and I think...
I think he wins, as in Jack Perry wins.
Yeah.
There's a little devil's advocate in me that's like, if Jack Perry is going to AEW already, which wouldn't surprise me just based on the comments that have been made in the last couple of days from both sides of the divide, then I'm assuming they wanted Shota to get the big push as a result of his stay in New Japan. And that would mean Shota has to win here. And if there is no House of Torture, it means that there's a more probable chance that Shota's winning. Because if House of Torture is there, then he's not beating 7 of them.
No, but they won't be because they're all off in Taiwan.
So I think it's going to be Jack Perry because Shota's story is he's a loser. And that would make a lot of people very angry, and it would build Jack Perry. But just being devil's advocate about that for a second, if I had to give reasons for Shota to win, those would be the ones.
Stephanie Vaco versus AZM for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Stephanie Vaco recently took the title from Julia, who then promptly left Stardom and moved to nowhere.
Which is interesting.
Vaco is really good, and I think she's probably going to keep the title for a while.
Probably.
AZM is really good too. 21 years old and a 10-year veteran. That's remarkable. But yeah, so I see Vaco. Any thoughts?
I know nothing about it, but just based on the fact she only recently won the title, I'd say she's keeping it.
Oh God, Matt Riddle versus Zack Sabre Jr. for the New Japan World Television Championship. I don't care.
I do care.
I care about Zack Sabre Jr. Yes.
I care about Zack, and I care about him winning the title, so it gets off of Riddle.
I do too, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they got 15 minutes, and we're stuck with him. But yeah, only because Chris Charlton started talking about it on commentary today and was like, "Oh, if it goes to 15 minutes, Riddle will result." And I'm like, "Right, you've kind of spoiled that, then, Chris."
Yeah, but see, I feel like Zack is being protected, like he was protected in the.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. But if he's being protected, he's not lost. If he hasn't beaten him in 15 minutes, he still hasn't lost, has he?
Yeah, but he hasn't won his big title,
No.
and
So,
it's his title. It's his faction that Riddle's humiliated. I can't say that word. By beating them soundly.
yeah.
And I feel like New Japan also kind of realized that Riddle is not the way to
Yes.
go.
Yes, I think they've realised that now. Which
I
because the only reason why I can think why you put this match together is for Zack to take it off of him.
Yeah, I kind of speculated with some guys on Twitter that I think they were supposed to go through like pretty much all the TMDK members.
Yeah.
Like Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols were maybe going to be next.
Yeah.
That would make sense in my eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
But they've just cut to the chase.
but they were like, okay, but this isn't working, so let's
Yeah.
put it back on Zack early.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
We'll see, I guess. Riot Rules match.
One more, because Zack also said, "I'm not going to wrestle you."
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's not a typical Zack thing to say something and then a couple of weeks later go back on it.
Yeah.
But it would make sense if Riddle had destroyed his entire faction.
Mm. Yeah.
Anyway, I hope it's Zack, but I can see the logic in it being Riddle, which I would hate. And I'm things I'm most interested about is the fan reaction.
Yeah.
To Riddle, because I kind of want to see, because obviously we exist in a very isolated part of wrestling Twitter. I want to see what the general reaction to him
it depends on which Twitter account you follow.
Yeah, that's the thing. I follow certain people who, and they agree with me.
Oh no, no, that's not what I meant. I meant which New Japan account you follow. If you follow the global one, everyone seems kind of positive. If you follow the Japanese one, everyone seems kind of negative.
That kind of feels like the New Japan fans.
Yes.
Who also follow the Japanese
Feed.
accounts.
Yeah.
Don't like him versus the people who might
the casual fans who may like get a dig watching Matt Riddle. Yeah. But there we go.
That's an assumption. That's
true.
Maybe that's really gatekeepy of me.
Riot Rules match apparently, but I thought Eddie Kingston was supposed to be having a New Japan Strong Championship match with Gabe Kidd. Anywho, 3 people and Eddie Kingston against 3 people and Gabe Kidd.
I always get worried when they have 3 random people and we don't know who they are.
It could be anyone.
That's the issue.
It's like,
could be anyone.
I suppose.
I think it'll be fine. It's just
I think possibly AW may have put the kibosh on Gabe versus Eddie because Eddie looks pretty vulnerable the minute having lost to Okada and to Mark Briscoe in the space of 2 weeks. So it's like he needs some heat back. So I think it's probably the reason why he's not defending the New Japan Strong Championship. Yes. I don't know what happens there, but I have a feeling Eddie puts Gabe in his place. I think is the most sensible thing for that time.
I'm going to be very mean and say I don't care.
Fair enough. That's reasonable. I like Eddie Kingston too much.
I like both of them. I just don't care about a random tag match.
If it was, would you care more if it was for the New Japan Strong Championship? Is the question. No. Okay then. Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu Takahashi in a non-title match.
Hiromu tried to make it interesting through the Twitter.
Yeah. But not enough for you.
But I think it's too little too late. If this had been the beginning of their interactions.
If they'd wrestled this match a month ago, maybe we would have cared.
Maybe. Or if they'd built this for a month.
Yes, instead of mentioning it a month ago and then forgetting about it for a month.
And then suddenly, a couple of days before the show.
Oh yes, this will be
starting Twitter discourse.
Yes. Someone should have promoted this match.
And the problem is they're in completely different time zones. So Hiromu makes a comment, and then 6 hours later, Mustafa Ali replies, and then 6 hours later, Hiromu makes a reply, and then 6 hours later, it's like it takes a long time for
Just
this
get up at
interaction to
Mustafa.
happen.
Just get up early, will you? Go for a morning run or something. Anyway,
That's always been the fun about wrestlers on Twitter, to see them directly interacting and then see the banter, go back and forth. This
yes,
is not so much a back and forth as a comment.
exactly.
And then hours later, comment.
And finally, Tetsuya Naito will defend the IWGP World's Heavyweight Championship against Jon Moxley. Nato's winning this. Up and down.
I hope he is, and I've made my position clear. Like I would not hate Jon Moxley as a champion.
I don't. Yeah, I'm of the same. I think they go. There's a possibility they go to a time limit draw, but I don't think Moxley's taking the title on a card that's not this big, because they're at, where are they? Wintrust Arena, which is how many people? Location, region. That doesn't tell me how big it is. Overview. They did Monday Night Raw there. I can get 15,000 in it, so maybe it is a bigger show than I'm thinking it is. It just feels like a small show because they've really not promoted it very much.
No.
I don't see Moxley winning this match at all, because Naito is going to keep that belt for quite some time, because they've got to get every last inch of juice out of him whilst they've got him. So, yeah, I just don't see Naito winning it. I don't mind if Moxley wins it. It'd be interesting. But he's not going to do the G1 because Tony won't let him again. So, because they need him. So, yeah, I don't think it works with Moxley as champ. But we'll see, won't we? I guess. Any other thoughts?
My thoughts on this. What I want is Naito to win.
Mm.
Again, I wouldn't mind Moxley as a champion, but like I said on Twitter, as a New Japan fan, I get more out of Naito being the champion.
Exactly.
But again, I wouldn't mind it if Moxley won. It would be interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
I was more confident that Naito is going to win a couple of weeks ago than I am now, because Moxley has apparently not been on AEW TV in quite a while. So if he's going to win the title, he might just be in New Japan more.
Yeah.
But then that's always been my biggest issue, is that I wouldn't be able to watch the main title if it were on AEW, and if he's on New Japan TV, then that's not so much an issue. And I think it's going to be Naito, but in Devil's Advocate moment again, if they wanted to give Naito a break, Jon Moxley holding the title for a bit would not be the worst choice.
No.
And if it's not going to be Tsuji, then Moxley. Makes sense.
Fair enough.
I also saw people saying that Moxley is going to wrestle Shota as Wrestle Kingdom, and no.
Shota's not winning the G1 under any circumstances. He might wrestle Moxley in a singles match, yes.
But he's not going to get the main event.
No,
but also Moxley is not going to be the champion until Wrestle Kingdom.
No, definitely not.
When Naito needs to be the main champion this year.
Yes, because they've built the G1 story around it essentially already. So, yeah.
So even if Mox wins, he's not keeping it that long. Come on.
No. You might see a bit of round robin play with it. It might go to somebody else before he gets back to Naito, but I doubt it.
And Shota needs to be built before he can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs to get over the constant losing story first.
Losing to Moxley, having lost to everybody else, isn't going to help him at all.
But also, he's not in a position to beat Moxley as he is.
No,
he
exactly.
needs to go through at least a year and a half of growth.
Yes, but there you go. What I think as well is it's American storytelling things, which is people are used to watching WWE and to a certain extent AEW, but they don't do it quite as much.
Instant.
It's got to happen now. It's no, it doesn't. Why? Whoa, no, not for 3 or 4 years yet.
That's also like I've seen comments about Tsuji. Like, why didn't they pull the trigger on him? Why are they refusing to make new stars? I'm like, he won the New Japan Cup.
Yeah.
Within like 6 months of coming back. This is for New Japan. This is really, really quick.
It's recency bias as well. It's like that was a month ago. It's like, but it means they believe in him. This is the one you win before you win the one you win. But yes, I think that's the thing though.
It's like, just like it feels very much like people want New Japan to change fundamentally.
It's not going to.
It's not going to.
And it would lose the audience it has if it does.
But it kind of already has changed, because a couple of years ago, Tsuji would never have won New Japan Cup. That's 3 years in the making. Then you win the New Japan Cup, and then after 5 years, maybe you get into the main title, main event.
Yeah.
Part.
Yeah.
He's been back less than a year, and he's won the New Japan Cup, and he's wrestled Naito for the main title.
He's wrestled. This is his second championship. Yeah. So he walked straight in and went straight to the top of the book company.
And people are saying that they're not pushing any of the young guys.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, just doing it. They're doing it in their way. It will happen. Not everyone can be Okada. And even then, Okada held the belt for 2 months and dropped it straight away. It's not like people remember things like he went on this Mount epic run. Yeah, well, for a guy who was 23, yes, it was an epic run, but it wasn't, the runs he would have later on. He had to build himself to that.
And Okada was such a big deal because it went against New Japan tradition.
Yes, you have to have grain to go against. They might be able to do. They might be able to do that with the next group that come along, but they can't do it with this group. It's not going to work because it's still not. You haven't had.
And like I said, Tsuji winning New Japan Cup is already a mini Okada thing, because they would never have pushed a young guy to win the New Japan Cup this quickly, normally.
Absolutely not. No, definitely not. Right then. Thank you very much for listening to the Troopany Show today. Christie, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at SmarkInfested on Twitter.
So to continue on that note is myself and Mr. Marcus Green talking about Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, after this short break. Welcome back to the Troopany Show. And now we are going to move on to Ring of Honor and Supercard of Honor, which always comes around this time of year, remarkably in a similar city as where WrestleMania is every year. Can't think why. But to join me is our Ring of Honor, as well as our GLADE correspondent, Mr. Marcus Green in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. How are you doing, sir?
Okay, glad to be back on some Ring of Honor. Fans know we try to check in on major events with the long-standing brand as much as we can whilst getting in our regular GLE coverage, and of course the widespread of other things the Troopany Show tends to cover. So Ring of Honor put on another solid show.
Yeah, actually, one of the best shows. I mean, I was just discussing off air. I've watched 6 shows, and none of them have had any slack wherever they've been in the world. So I watched TJPW Princess show, Grand Princess show from last week. It was one of the best cards I've seen this year. I've watched the GCW versus TJPW show today. Again, no slack, great matches and everything. There's some fluff, but even the fluff's good. And then I've watched Sakura Genesis yesterday with Christie. We've done the podcast on that, as you just heard. That was probably one of the most solid New Japan shows we've seen in a long time. And I've watched 2 GLADE shows with some big stuff happening, and they were absolutely brilliant as well. Wrestling in this month has been fantastic, but Ring of Honor is always kind of special to us because it's something we've covered for a very long period of time. 10 years now we've been doing Ring of Honor shows. And we always go for the big pay-per-views to see what's happening with some of our favorite characters. I did actually watch a fair bit of the 0 Hour show as well. We will go through the results. Did you watch the 0 Hour show, Marcus?
I did.
You did. Well, let's start there then. Premier athletes, Ari Daivari, Josh Woods, and Tony Nese, along with Smart Mark Sterling, defeated Adam Priest, Rhett Titus, and Tony Deppen, returning to Ring of Honor. 8 minutes and 17 seconds. 2 former television champions, a pure champion, and, Tony Nese, who's freaking Tony Nese. He's really good. Ari Daivari, he's really good as well. Adam Priest, not seen much of him. He's really good, though. What did you think of this opener to get things kicked off?
It was cool. Tony Nese has been somebody that's really just been consistent, no matter where he's been, whether when he was in WWE or otherwise. He's somebody that always stays in shape and somebody that's very extremely credible in the ring. Has had varying waves of momentum at times, but definitely somebody that's, you got to respect for staying the course. Obviously, we saw the growth of Josh Woods. Pure tournament and everything, and Ari Daivari is another one that's a stalwart and somebody that's always, consistent to be put in places and deliver when he can. So putting the three of them together, I thought was an interesting combination, and obviously along with Smart Mark Sterling, who's also somebody that kind of finds himself fitting where he can at times. But I thought it was a solid outing. 8 minutes 6 seconds. I haven't seen Rhett Titus Deppen in a while. And obviously, not really too familiar with Adam Priest, but I thought it was a solid 6 man. I think the right people definitely won.
Yeah, it was a nice little showcase for all 6. So that was good. Next up, we had the Beast Mortos defeated Blake Christie in 8 minutes and 41 seconds for a surprising little match that kind of rocked along nicely. Blake Christie announced the Best of Super Juniors this year. Have you any thoughts on that as well, Marcus?
That's good to hear. Last time I consistently watched Blake Christian was doing his stint he had in Impact years ago, and I know he's always been killing it on the indies. He's a consummate performer, and obviously that showed here against somebody like the Beast Mortos, who Impact fans would affectionately know as Black Taurus, who was absolutely a beast. Pun intended, in that ring, and these guys kind of went out there and put together a match that was kind of like you guys might not want to put us on the pre-show next time. This was a hell of a bout, and Beast Mortos came out with the win, but he's just somebody that's really, I've always enjoyed watching because he's just so dynamic. You take a look at him, you probably think he's, one of these gimmick type of guys, and then you see what he can do, and it's like, wow, this. You almost kind of say to yourself, like, why is this guy not some type of champion? But like you said, they put together a real solid match.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I understand he's left AAA not long ago, hence the change in name. Because AAA are very good at actually, copywriting their names, and the last match he had was in December for the mega title against El Hijo del Vikingo. He was Black Taurus up until 2 matches ago. His last match on the 22nd was as Black Taurus, but I know that AAA no longer have an agreement with AEW because of the agreement with and then CMLL, I would guess, though AAA guys are still working for AEW. As complicated that it may is, but the Beast Mortis is an AEW signed wrestler now, hence the new name. To clear up any confusion, or possibly create more. Who knows? Anyway, moving on. Cole Carter and Griff Garrison with Maria, their manager, defeated Spanish Announce Project, Angelico and Serpenetico in 8 minutes and 32 seconds in a perfectly fun little match. Just kind of interesting little tag match, which kind of tells you what's going on the undercard of Ring of Honor these days and what you get on your Ring of Honor tapings, which I kind of liked because obviously you can't always be the big name stars. I've got to have more guys than that, and girls than that. So it was an interesting little match. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, around the same thoughts. kind of got, bored a little bit with some of the tomfoolery with the mask stuff, just because I'm not as familiar with these two guys. Although I do appreciate that Maria's always found herself in the mix, and with her background with managing teams, certainly successful teams, these guys certainly benefit from having her wisdom in that regard. Always cool to see Angelico. As a a longtime Lucha Underground fan, and Sir Pendico. I thought that was a cool combination, and you would imagine they would have won had it not been for all the, like I said, chicanery. But like you said, it kind of represents the undercard and what's going on the lower ends of Ring of Honor as these guys continue to grow and get more stuff under their belt, which is what this match was ultimately for. So
exactly. And then the main event, if you will, of 0 Hour, if that makes sense. Maria May, Tony Storm's protege, defeats Momokogo in 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Momokogo, of course, of Stardom Professional Wrestling, who are making a guest appearance on this particular card. Oh, the amount of Joshi we have watched in these last few days. We'll talk more about the 6-man on the main card. We were supposed to have Martin from the Wrestling Rewind with us today. Unfortunately, he can't join us. But fortunately for him, his sister's had a baby. So congratulations to their family. And I hope they're having a lovely time. And obviously, he's gone to kind of help out with family matters at this particular moment in time. But he actually begged me to be on this podcast because he wanted to talk about the Stardom women so much after he watched this. So
yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, I've recently turned Martin on to Joshi, and he has suddenly become obsessed. So, that's a good thing. And this was a nice little match, which kind of was showcasing Mariah May for later in the card, but Momokogo got a lot of stuff in as well, and told a neat little story. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus?
Yeah, I really dug this. It's been interesting to see Mariah May's maturation alongside Tony Storm, who was putting on a weekly character clinic for what she has going on. But yeah, it's been cool to see. Obviously, she's adorning herself with Tony's former identity, and it seems to be working out. I like the fact that she's working outside of Tony and in situations like this. And I think this kind of set a precedent for what we get throughout the show, showing that, women who come in Ring of Honor, they don't hit light. And I appreciate that. This was a solid match, solid outing. Names like, Mariah May, obviously we're seeing the continued growth. So got names like Julia Hart and others. Matches like this that kind of set that pace and show that these, because obviously we've seen I would say a mix of, obviously, they've seen a lot of Joshi talent come through AEW and then also trickled some down in the Ring of Honor as well. But I think it's been shown that a lot of these American women are kind of having to step up and meet the challenge. And it's cool to see that, some are rising to that occasion. So, yeah.
Definitely. We will see this later on. Over this entire weekend, I've just watched the TJPW with GC versus GCW show, and a lot of crossover talent from GLEAT and from Ring of Honor and AEW that we're very familiar with. We're obviously on those shows as well because they work for GCW as well. We'll be talking about that with Anna next week. So yeah, it's Joshi's kind of. I think we need to talk about that at the time, so we'll talk about it later. But generally, Joshi, I think, is kind of pushing the envelope on the North American wrestling in a way that it hasn't done in quite some time. But let us move on to the card proper. We were at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Liacuras. Big old place. Bit of a barn. Seemed pretty full, though. Kyle Fletcher defeated Lee Johnson in the opening match for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. 19 minutes and 51 seconds. By Kyle Fletcher's got awesome really quickly. He was always great. And, he's had a couple of times when Big Dunk has not been available for Aussie Open responsibilities. And he's really grown in those particular periods of time because he doesn't muck about. He's put on weight. He's thickened up. He's carrying that Ring of Honor Television Championship with aplomb. And Lee Johnson, as a challenger who I'm not familiar with, really held his own. This was great. I love this match. Just really showcased what the Ring of Honor television title has traditionally been about. And Kyle Fletcher is kind of being the epitome of that, considering the fact he replaced Samoa Joe as champion. For a lot of wrestlers, that would be, oh my God, what do I do now territory. And Fletcher has kind of stamped his own imprint on that championship. And he stands up where there's some of the great TV champions of all time. And I think this is a great match. And I think Lee Johnson, as well as a challenger, was exceptional too. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus?
100% agree. This was a slapper. The boys kicked off the show with a main event. That's basically what they did. Like you said, this Kyle Fletcher is he's on that level. He's on that level also. I think recently he battled, I think, his best friend in Will Ospreay. And obviously Ospreay is on his own tier, and he lost that match, but he put it on a hell of a show there. And I think he's somebody that only gets better when he gets in situations like that, because it did feel like for standing in this match he was on a different tier. Lee Johnson looked really good, but it did feel like he had to elevate himself, and I thought he did well, composed himself well, met the challenge where it was. But Fletcher just had a little bit more, even as a champion, coming off like he got something to prove. So this was, like you said, a hell of a match. Looking forward to seeing what other challenges this reign with Fletcher is doing brings, because obviously, like you said, that's some hellified shoes to fill with Joe, who relinquished the title. He never lost it.
Yeah.
Relinquished the title coming off a hell of a run. And I think Fletcher is putting in the due diligence to follow in that suit. So very much looking forward to that, seeing Lee grow as well. Hopefully we see more of him. But this Fletcher kid is a problem. I'm looking forward to seeing.
It's been discussion today with one of my mutuals on Twitter. That would be Sarah Parkin of the various podcasts, and the Two Times Sports Top podcast mainly. We were discussing Kyle specifically in relation to Ospreay, and I think Kyle has more upside than Ospreay does. Ospreay's about as good as he's ever going to be, and I think Fletcher can be better. And I think he hasn't quite realised that yet, but he has all the natural ability. He's a better promo, and he's got room to grow. And I think he's going to be something quite special. So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny you said that, because I was honestly gonna say he had a lot of things that kind of reminded me of Ospreay.
But they were in the same faction, and they worked on the British wrestling scene together for 10 years. So it's hard not to.
Yeah.
But I think Kyle's actually better than Ospreay. I think when everything's said and done as far as in-ring content, I think Kyle's a more watchable wrestler now than Ospreay is. For me, that's my personal taste, and it's well documented my personal distaste of Ospreay in general. But I do genuinely think Kyle Fletcher's got a chance to be better, and I think he's got a chance of being one of those guys. Of course, he now works for a company. The trouble is that he works for a company where there's 12 of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly, and I want to get your take on this. It certainly does seem like he's already honed a style that he won't necessarily have to change as he grows, like we kind of saw with Ospreay, who down there was cutting him off at the knees.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher was a lot more aerial when he was younger, but he was also 30 pounds lighter. But he's so young. How old is he now? He's 25. I first saw him when he was 19 years old, and he was a skinny rail of a kid. But they bossed the Progress Tag Team division like they owned it for 3 years, and they did. There was very few tag teams who could get near him except for CCK and War Dogs and people like that. And I think he's just, he's got loads more poise and loads more kind of just ring generalship at a very young age that loads of wrestlers just don't have. And I think that's the important thing. And we'll see how he develops, won't we, really? Right then. Empress Nexus Venus, Makai and Mina Shirakawa, along with Mei Sierra, went up against Queen's Quest AZM, Saya Kamitani, and Tam Nakano. 14 minutes and 27 seconds in a trios match. from the Stardom ladies who are making their first special guest appearance for Ring of Honor. Obviously not the first time Stardom women have been in Ring of Honor. That deal has been on and off more or less for the last 6 or 7 years. However, this is the first time it's really blossomed since the exit of Rossy Ogawa from Stardom Professional Wrestling, and who was also in Philadelphia this weekend taking Julia with him to a WWE show. And she got on camera. Intriguing.
Indeed.
Yes, Julia, the last time we saw Julia, she was on a Noah show. She's turning up everywhere. And the general feeling has been, the rumor has been that Rossy wants to start a promotion with a talent swap deal with WWE, essentially an NXT Japan kind of style promotion for the women he wants to develop. And obviously a lot of women on the Stardom roster are very loyal to him for his work in Stardom down the years. So we shall see. But let us concentrate on what we saw. And we saw an exceptional 6-woman tag match, which really gave an incredible taste of what you can see on a Stardom show. Because all 6 of these women, I've been watching Tamakano now for a staggeringly long period of time. And they're all really, really, really good. And it's hard to say just how great they can all possibly be. I'm a big fan of Mirin Shirakawa. She was on the New Japan show at New Beginning. She challenged for the IWGP Women's World Championship. And that match she had there was fantastic. And all of these women can go exceptionally well and were out to steal the show, and they nearly did. They weren't going to steal the show considering what was coming next. Not the next match, but a couple of matches down the line, some things that went on which were just absolutely phenomenal. However, they went out of their way to try and win, steal the show, and they closed it out with an angle with Maria May, a former member of Empress Nexus Venus. But we'll talk about that at the end. What do you think of this one, Marcus? Because you will not have seen a lot of Stardom, will you?
No, and although I wish they kind of would have did it, because as fans will know, that there was a time when GLEAT didn't necessarily do what they needed to do with the graphics, with the names. When we first started watching it, it kind of came into that. Now it's consistent. I kind of wanted that here, and didn't necessarily get it, but it just got to a point where I just stopped trying to figure out who was who specifically on a consistent basis. Just sat back and enjoyed it for what it was, which was extremely skilled and talented women going out there and killing it. And I was trying to wonder myself, I'm like, these are the ladies that we needed to run through GLEAT when Diamond Eagles were running amok. that's what we needed. But yeah, this was amazing. I see why. The gentleman begged you to get on the show to watch this, because to talk about this, because this was great. This was great. Like you said, it says a lot that as great as this match was, like it probably would have stole the show if not for the effort that the 2 young men put in beforehand, and then obviously we got some great stuff that we're going to talk about afterwards. But this is definitely a reason why that you don't watch anything else on the show. This is definitely one of the things that you want to see. I know a lot of American fans get for whatever final reason get jaded and don't allow themselves to really immerse themselves in these other unique styles. But this is why Stardom is a staple, and why women like Mercedes Moné and others end up wanting to go there, because this is where the best come from. So
not just the biggest Joshi company, but the second biggest wrestling company in Japan. Maybe third biggest. Noah's edged ahead again since. But it's like these women are just absolutely stunning wrestlers. And I don't watch Stardom as much as I used to, because I don't have the time or the access, and I can watch TJPW, and to me, TJPW is more of a Joshi promotion, whereas Stardom's more of a wrestling promotion, if that makes sense. There's more tradition to Tokyo Joshi Pro, in my humble opinion. That's why I tend to prefer it these days. And And so yeah, but I never said they were bad wrestlers. It's just not the thing I want to put my time into when I've got limited time. But they are absolutely stunning, and it was just an absolutely wonderful piece of work. Right then, Undisputed, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, your Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, or Undisputed Kingdom, I should say, defeated the Infantry, Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, accompanied by their manager Trish Adora, 13 minutes and 54 seconds of a scrappy little tag team match for the World Tag Team Championships. I've not seen much of the Infantry, as I've not been watching Ring of Honor TV, but they certainly seem like worthy challengers. This match maybe needs a couple more goes to make it really something to sing about. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus?
Yeah, same. Wasn't as familiar with the Infantry either until I recently saw them on an edition of, I think, Dynamite or Rampage, one of the three of the shows. But yeah, these guys got a lot of talent, a lot of potential. I see some good stuff for them in the future as long as they keep going and growing. And in a lot of ways, I feel like they could very well take the spot, and not to put folks against each other, but there's just a lot of moving parts within the AEW ecosystem. I feel like they could very well take the spot of what was building with Private Party before they kind of got, feels like lost in the shuffle. But when it comes to this, the Undisputed Kingdom is just they time tested and time and battle tested. Like you said, they could run this back a few times. I think obviously this matchup could get better, but I think at the end of the day, they're just going to, they going to beat them with experience every time. These guys are, very much, accomplished singles, but certainly as a team. And this is without Maria, in their corner. So, yeah, like you said, this was good. Probably could be better. And they, like you said, they may very well run it back with, the right team won.
There are only two teams. I've just realized that maybe to do my maths in my head here a second. There are only two teams who have won the IWGP, Ring of Honor, and Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championships. Can you name the two teams, Marcus?
I want to say, is it the Impact and the IWGP?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be the Kingdom and the Good Brothers?
It was the Kingdom, but not the Good Brothers, because they never won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Good Brothers won WWF Tag Team Championships, IWGP, and Impact.
Was it the Briscoes?
It was the Briscoes. There
you go.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Legendary tag team. That's what you do. Yeah.
There you go. And the Briscoes, obviously, big theme on this particular evening. But from veterans to people breaking through, 2 years ago, I saw Queen Aminata defend the African Diaspora Championship against Sugar Dunkerton on For the Culture, on the For the Culture GCW show, which is the first time I'd seen Queen Aminata. For those of you who don't know, the African Diaspora Championship is for black wrestlers who are wrestlers of African descent, obviously. And it's a mixed gender championship. And Aminata was the first champion, I think, but she was certainly the woman and person that established that belt on the indie circuit in North America. And 2 years ago, Billy Starks was in junior high school. And now she's one of the best women in North America at professional wrestling. And these two had a bit of a barnstormer. It was a little bit disjointed in places because they're both quite young and probably need a little bit more experience at this level. But I was fully intrigued, and I'm well into Billy Starks. And this had a very creative finish with Starks feigning injury to the point of medical attention coming in before she switched on Queen Aminata and did a roll-up. And I like the little subtle look back with this knowing smile on her face as she looked back at Aminata. I was like, should I apologize? No, I don't think I need to. I've done the job. And Billy Starks as a heel has been an interesting journey because the last time we saw her, she was a full-on babyface. So I like this because it's showing Starks with some growth, and Queen Amanata's, excellent wrestling skill showed off an awful lot of everything. Could be better, but then again, you can always do it again, can't you? Marcus, what's your thoughts on this one?
Oh, this was some good stuff. Like you said, a bit of a barn burner. Like you said, it did feel like it was two different levels. I think this was another situation, much like the Ring of Honor television. Ironically enough, it kind of followed the men's television match, where it's like it felt like one side was a level above the other side, and I'm talking about Amanata because it whatever Billy Starr came into this match ready to order, Queen Amanata gave her far more than I think Plate was willing to carry. Which is why I think it got to a point in the match where she kind of decided, like, I'm gonna just have to do something else, because if I don't, this woman's gonna close me out sooner rather than later. She was peppering this young lady with some thick shots. And to Billy Starr's credit, she was meeting as best she could, but I think Amanata was on, like I said, on a different gear, a different mindset. She's been on tear. I mean, and it's not too many women that I've seen anyway on this side of the pond that got a headbutt as a finisher. So that just tells you that she's on. Yeah, but yeah, it felt like everything was kind of lining up for the queen to finally, take her crown, as you will. And Billy Stark was like, "No, I'm gonna go ahead and take a page out of my mentor's book." And yeah, she played possum and very much took Amanata's kindness and turned it into her ultimate weakness and choked out. And now she is the inaugural Ring of Honor Women's World TV Champion. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this goes, because the last time we checked in on Billy Stark, she was trying to beat her master in one Athena, and then being on the losing end. So it's cool to see, like you said, that growth and evolution here. But I think I'm gonna keep my eye on this, because I think Queen Amanata is gonna be in the mood for much talking after this, and she certainly doesn't seem like somebody that falls for the same trick multiple times. So I think she definitely has put a target on her back, along with that title around her waist. But like you said, this was a slapper, right, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. This was good. Well, let's see. Speaking of biting off more than one can chew. Bullet Club, Gold, Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn, and the inevitable Switchblade Jay White came out and offered an open challenge for their Ring of Honor World Six-Man Championships. And to answer the championships was Murderhawk Lance Archer with his tag team partner, Alex Zane, more commonly known as Monster Sauce. And as Ian Riccoboni said on commentary, he called in a Suzuki-Goon favor, because he said, "Oh, we need a partner, don't we?" And up on the screen comes the words "The King," and Minoru Suzuki, the Black Veil himself, heads to ringside to beat up that young boy Jay White with a smile on his face a mile wide. And I still get chills up and down my spine when I see Minoru Suzuki, especially in situations like this. And amazingly, of all the stuff I've watched in the last 5 days, at 55 years old, Minoru Suzuki, whether it was wrestling Maki Ito for TJPW at Sumo Hall, or if it's here tagging with Monster Sauce, he's still got the aura, he's still got everything about him that says, I am professional wrestling and I am the king. Now, this match hasn't been received particularly well, but it was by no parts on Monster Sauce's fault. And I don't think it was Bullet Club Gold's fault either. It was kind of a bit of a thrown-together match. But sticking Suzuki with Jay White is just blessed entertainment, because Jay White can sell anything Suzuki has to offer. And it just became so much fun to watch, them get reacquainted from their days in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know what's happened to Jay White's push in AEW, because him and Juice Robinson had the best television tag team match ever last year, and he's gone nowhere since, and I don't get it. Because he really should be challenging Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship, and I'm amazed that he hasn't got to that level yet, and I don't quite know why he's not there yet. But we'll see, I guess. In the meantime, we get little gems like this. I was really happy with this. It just made me smile because this is my kind of thing. Marcus, what did you think?
Yeah, I see stuff like this. It's always interesting because I was like, they gave like anytime I see Suzuki now, and obviously it was cool to see Alex saying that and seeing him in a while, and Lance Archer is always intimidating. The word intimidating is just instant when you see him. But whenever Suzuki comes up anywhere, like the mood changes. It's a completely different vibe, and it's almost kind of like fuddling a little bit that Chris Hero was the one that got the moniker "Ain't Nothing to F with." Stuff like that. Stuff like that. Very much could be like to the point that the crowd, and I'm so glad that on this side of the pond, if you will, that the fans are very much aware of the majesty and legend of Suzuki to the point where the only thing that mattered was like murder, grandpa. Like it was just like yes, they know. So yeah, that was Suzuki was the best part of this overall. I don't think the match was anything memorable at all. God bless the Guns, but they wasn't ready for Suzuki at all. Jay White is for me because Jay White made himself much like Suzuki a menace during his time in New Japan. But even still, Suzuki is the number one problem in any scenario. So that was great, that interaction. But yeah, I'm with you, and I was going to ask you. I'm glad you talked about it. It does feel like some of that Jay White aura, that mystique, has kind of faded. In his time in AEW, the longer he stayed. I mean, I think when he first came in, you had that, but then that's kind of seemed to wane some. I don't know what that is. It's just him kind of choosing to want to do something else, or just a lot of stuff with the booking. But I'm like, people kind of got to realize that this guy was in the upper echelon of New Japan, where you're talking about, you name Okada, you name Tanahashi, you name Ishii, you keep going, and you're gonna, Jay White is in that tier with the run that he had. So he comes to AEW, they treat him like another guy, kind of throws you off. Like you said, it feels like he should always be in the picture around guys like Samoa Joe, and also seeing the elevation with Swerve and stuff like that. Like he should be having match of the year candidates with somebody like Takeshita and stuff like that. To me, anyway. So, but maybe he's looking out for the Guns and then trying to help those guys elevate and stuff like that, and that's respectable as well because he certainly has a great resume. But I just like to see more from him because, like I said, he was at one time the biggest problem in New Japan. So
I think he runs better when he's going against the establishment, and the AEW isn't really old enough to have an establishment, if that makes sense. There's no the top of the card moves around so swiftly. Admittedly, there's only been like 5 AEW World Champions, but you know what I mean. That the guys who are swirling in the mix are always floating around because it's a TV-based company, and because the pace of New Japan was so much slower. Me and Christie were talking about this earlier on the show. Like people were saying like, oh, they should have put the belt on Tsuji, and Naito's too old, and it's like, no, Naito sells tickets, and Tsuji winning the New Japan Cup was a massive coup. He's done an amazing job to get this far, and he's only been back less than a year. So the fact that Jay White went up against all that and kind of broke the curve. He was IWGP World Heavyweight Champion within 18 months of joining the company back from Excursion. He really kind of I think possibly just because AEW moves so fast, maybe he'll get his turn sooner rather than later. But I have a feeling he kind of, I suppose, in many ways, MJF got hot and Jay White's kind of in that territory, and then Swerve's got hot and he's kind of in that territory too, and therefore, you kind of got to wait your turn with these other guys who've been around a bit longer and who've had a chance to build their mystique, I suppose. But it does, in the same way that things move fast in AEW and Ring of Honor, it's a possibility, but I don't know. We have some red hot babyface champions in Ring of Honor, and they are establishment veterans, which we'll talk about. Try not to spoil the end of the show if you've not seen it. But if he runs at them, there's a story. That's something special. So we'll have to see, won't we? In the meantime, let's just move on, unfortunately, to the fight without honor. Dalton Castle beat Johnny TV in 22 minutes and 6 seconds in a match that was around about 17 minutes too long. This one on forever. And whilst it opened okay, for those of you who don't know, the story behind this was, if you remember the last time we looked at this, Johnny TV interfered in Dalton Castle's television eliminator match, which was eventually won by Kyle Fletcher. And then Johnny and Taya Valkyrie kidnapped the boys, and apparently they'd been eaten by bears. Oh, their contract has been let go. And then, so Dalton lost everything. And as we saw after his, because Dalton's great at actually like acting and stuff, watching his professional respect disappear, he managed to get it all back by challenging to Johnny TV to a fight without honor, which unfortunately may have been one of the biggest dumb things we've seen in Ring of Honor for quite some time. And whilst it was big and dumb, I suppose it was entertaining and it kind of got over, but it seemed awfully long and slow and grinding and could have been over a lot more quickly, I thought. Props to Taya Valkyrie, who was massively annoying through this entire match, and that was her job, and she did it really well. I'd rather watch her wrestle than manage, though. And Johnny TV is a superbly evil man when he wants to be, and I think he did that really well. And I like Dalton. Just, I don't want these two to wrestle each other ever again. Ever again. Marcus, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up when you said about 17 minutes too long. Like, I, definitely appreciate all the players here, including this new batch of boys, if you will, that had to get involved because obviously, like you said, certain things happen that were out of control. And then, I mean, it was interesting that day. We had a variety of boys with a variety of skill sets that helped during the later stints of this match. However, like you said, it just kind of felt like the tomfoolery went on. It got long in the tooth, if you will. And then we had a celebrity run in, which was great. I like that guy a lot, that actor, and Cobra Kai and some other stuff. And is a genuine fan and appreciative of the sport and the art form. So that was cool. But yeah, that don't run this back. Whatever's got did, put in the past. You beat them. Got a new batch of boys. To your point, there are a few people better at selling, losing everything, and fighting to get it back than Dalton Castle is when it comes to performance. In terms of his character, we've seen it several times, and it feels like it's happening for the first time every time. That's a credit, like you said, to his acting ability. But yeah, we need to move on from this. I don't know, like, seems like Johnny and his lovely wife have been having a lot of fun, just kind of doing stuff on their own. But yeah, this interaction can come to an abrupt end, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Yeah. Please, no more. We're free of this now. However, let us move on to the semi-main event and the Ring of Honor's World Championship match. Hikaru Shida challenged Athena for the Ring of Honor title some time ago. Hikaru Shida's first match in North America was against Athena, where she beat her on a Shimmer card in, the Berwyn, Illinois, is it a rec center that they used to do their TV tapings in? I can't remember where it was. For those TV tapings, now when you look at them, like, the fans of Shimmer paid for Asuka to go there and have her first matches in North America, and they got Hikaru Shida over there. They got a lot of the Stardom roster over for the first time. Shirai had some of her first matches in North America. It was like Shimmer were doing the right things 15 years ago. They absolutely were. And so, Athena, racked by the fact that she's never beaten Shida, it takes up the challenge to defend her Ring of Honor World Championship. 22 minutes and 31 seconds of one of the best wrestling matches you will have seen in this weekend. Largely because Hikaru Shida has flipped the switch and she's become the badass wrestler I always knew she could be in AEW. Whilst I do love her as a fiery babyface, I always wanted the woman that wore Aja Kong's blood on her tights for months after she beat Aja Kong, just to remind Aja she'd beaten her. that is the Hikaru Shida I knew she was capable of being. And this was the first match I've seen her in where she really got a chance to be that Hikaru Shida. And the fact that she came so close but could not beat Athena only makes me want more. And I hope they do indeed run this again, maybe in a year's time when they've had a chance to separate things out and Shida has built a game plan to run again at the Ring of Honor's Championship. That Shida actually is better in Ring of Honor than she is in AEW because the matches are longer. And while Tony Khan has received an awful lot of stick, and by the end of this week, he'll receive a lot more. What Athena has done with the Ring of Honor Women's Championship and the Women's Division and the things she's done for Billy Starks and all of the things that come up have been absolutely fantastic. And this is another example of this is the Hikaru Shida I want to see. 22 minutes, go. She's phenomenal. And she's one of the few wrestlers who can hang with someone like Athena on this roster. And that's what's made the Ring of Honor's women's roster so, interesting, and made the AEW women's roster kind of it could be better. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus? Because this has absolutely been stunning.
Man, everything you said, this was brilliant. So yeah, it's funny because it was like you was pulling all the stuff I was thinking out of my head. Because when AEW first started, they would bring the likes of Karushida and some others in Rio, and they were good, clearly, but there was a level of aggression that just wasn't there, a certain level of urgency when facing the Heels, the Nyla Roses, and the Britt Breakers, or what have you, that I felt like they needed to make those situations feel better than what they were at the time, because we have extensively talked about the very up and down shaky booking with the women over the course of AEW's 5-year run now. But yet now, and again, right directly again to your point, this is she turned it on, she clicked into it, she tapped in to that aggression, and she met somebody like Athena who, it's ironic that, Khan is pulling out all this money to get these stars, and he's got a $5 million talent right there in Ring of Honor. Like one of the best kept secrets under his employ. It's somebody who's never been on one of his 3 main weekly shows. But to her credit, I think that's why she's thrived in a lot of ways and been able to elevate not only the women's division, but the brand in general. Even with the world champion being, around, if, essentially Athena's made herself unequivocally the emblem on the sports car. Like, she is, this is what I think, this is, the brilliance she's always been wanting to tap into, during her stints elsewhere, particularly in WWE. Like, she really found her stride in Ring of Honor, and with this title and with this amazing reign, and just feel like she's tapped into all the facets in her tool belt and really been killing it. And this is the first time, again, like you were saying, that perhaps in that 45 straight winning streak, she's ran into somebody that's knocked her off her game mentally. Because she's never lacking in the physicality. I mean, go watch this match, by the way. This is to go watch this match of the show. But she's never lacking in that department. But it really felt like she really had to dig both mentally and physically here, because Shida was meeting her, peppering her with knees, shots, you name it, she threw it at her, and the thing threw it right back. And when she kicked out of that first O-face, I was like, uh-oh. That's primarily one of the more consistently protected moves, if you will. So the fact that they took it there, I thought was great. And like you said again, they could continue this dance for a larger part of the rest of the year. For me, I mean, you could do a 2 out of 3 falls, last woman standing, if you will. Like, I feel like these two tapped into something really special and set a new standard for what it's gonna take to really take that title specifically off of Athena, but to the next level. So yeah, this was brilliant, and the fact that we had this and then had some more great stuff and emotion coming out after it. It kind of speaks to, the hard work and dedication that's being put in this brand that's probably getting overlooked because of the that it's under.
Yeah, I'll talk about that at the end of this match, but this Athena run is starting to look like company defining in the same way Asuka kind of defined the women's division after the Four Horsewomen left NXT and she became the one and really elevated things for NXT's women after the Four Horsewomen had left, and certainly made it acceptable for Japanese women to work in WWE and be considered headlining stars. I don't think you get Io Sky as women's champion in WWE without Asuka being there first. And Kairi Sane's success has been absolutely phenomenal. And again, you don't get that without Asuka being there first. But I think Athena has shown the same kind of level of grit, and this is kind of like one of those. It's one of the best title runs I've ever seen, and I've seen Io Sky or Io Shirai's red belt run in Stardom, which was absolutely insane. That was just like absolute off the hook match after off the hook match for 10 months in a row, and I saw her throw Miko Satomura around Hurricane Hall, and I saw her do all sorts of insane things with champions from other companies just to get that belt over. And that was insane. I've seen Okada's fourth reign, which was just the massive long 14 match reign he where he lost to Kenny at the end, and it was that was a kind of era defining reign. And this is looking in the same ballpark. This is up there with, one of the great company title reigns that's really helped redefine what a major wrestling company is supposed to be about. Our Ring of Honor was the company that couldn't find space for women. That was Wednesday night Women of Honor, because we couldn't put them on the main show. We could only put them on a YouTube show because there wasn't room for them on a regular show. This is the company that, Deanna Purrazzo essentially left because, there was nothing happening for her there. Deanna Purrazzo. This is the company that really wasn't getting women's wrestling right at all for ages on end. This is the company that hired Session Moth Martina and didn't use her because of COVID. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't Ring of Honor's fault. But this was the company that didn't really not to know what to do with women's wrestling, could not figure it out. And now essentially people watch Ring of Honor because of the women, because there's not to say that the other wrestling isn't great. It is. But Athena is a superstar, and she has blown this company up in a way I didn't think was possible, considering the base that they were coming from. This was the manliest of manly wrestling promotions. It was toxic masculinity encapsulated, especially with some of the wrestlers who wrestle for it. And yeah, now look at it. It's Athena's show. She's headlined. No knock on Eddie Kingston, but she's headlined more pay-per-views than the Ring of Honor champion has in the last 12 months. That tells you an awful lot. And it tells you an awful lot about the diversity of this roster and the diversity of this company and the willingness that Tony Khan has put into letting this be a place where people can grow and kind of letting it do its own thing. And it's worked exceptionally well and produced exceptionally great professional wrestling. Yes, we've had one terrible match on this card. But yeah, I think Athena's done an amazing job. But also it's a testament to where this company has come from, where it's going to, I think, as well.
No, absolutely. And I feel like, it's crazy because, but I love the fact that we always cover and always we've, certainly when we've had the opportunity to big up Athena and big up Ring of Honor in that regard, because I feel like like you said, this is a historic reign for women in general, but specifically for her career, and it does come off insulting when you have people who are supposed to be of note, talk about who's the best and who's the best of this gender and whatnot, and you can't even really throw that in there. She's like one of the best going today, period. in this reign. Like I said, it's unprecedented, and it's really great to see, particularly when you look at the history um, of the company, particularly when it came to women and what it took to even get here. So the fact that she gets, probably doesn't get the credit, she deserves for, this damn near 500-day reign. It does come off insulting when you support of her and you watched her, struggle. She struggled when she was in WWE because she just, she couldn't really, like I said, tap into all the things we're seeing her tap into now. But like I said, everybody don't thrive in all the spaces that's perceived as, the quote unquote big pond. Sometimes it takes coming to places like Ring of Honor. And like you said, being able to have the road where you can like really run and get your reps in to really thrive and bring out stuff like this. And yeah, I don't see her dropping that belt no time soon until she wants to, So yeah, this was, like I said, this was a brilliant match. This is, to me, this is the go watch the show match. I think there's a note put in for the next match for a variety of reasons, historically talking about just the foundation of this company in general. But yeah, you got to put some respect on Athena's name in any conversation at this point.
Absolutely. Arguably the best champion going in any wrestling promotion right now. But we get to the main event, the Mad King, Eddie Kingston, defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against Chicken Mark Briscoe. Now, it is 1 year ago that me and Marcus watched Mark Briscoe push Samoa Joe all the way for the World Television Championship, but come up short. He's had a year as a singles wrestler where he said he would never tag team with anyone else again. He only ever wanted to be a singles wrestler. He would do trios, that's fine. But the only thing he ever wanted to be was to prove that he could do it by himself without people. Now, this show has followed the Briscoes for the last 10 years from the ups and downs. And the story of Mark Briscoe is the story of Ring of Honor from day one, as we know. But the history of Mark Briscoe and Jay as well has not always been politically correct, as we've many times documented on this show. And the fact that Mark has come through this, has kept his moral boundaries in place the way he wants them to be, but become more accepting of other people and more accepting of other wrestling styles, is really the story of Ring of Honor. Mark has grown as a human being. This company has grown when it comes to diversity and representing different groups of people. And the one thing it represents more than anything else was the #1 championship in indie wrestling in North America. This was the one you wanted before you went anywhere else. Seth Rollins said he did not want to sign for WWE until he had won the Ring of Honor World Championship. The guys who've won this belt, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, all of those people who helped make wrestling what it is in the last 20 years, they all came through because of this championship and fighting for this championship. And this was the important one for everyone. So when it comes down to Eddie Kingston, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, from watching him defend the Grand Championship in Shikara, to being a Ring of Honor guy, to being kind of like, you're not good enough for Ring of Honor, so you have to go somewhere else, and going to Impact and being a manager and it not really fitting, and then being a wrestler and not really working, and then trying somewhere else, and eventually just deciding he was going to quit, to becoming one of the must-see pro wrestlers in the world, to do the G1, to meet his hero Kawada, to do all those things in the last 12 months that he's done as New Japan Strong, Ring of Honor, and Continental Champion. He's coming to defend it against Mark Briscoe on the day that Mark Briscoe's brother Jay beat Kevin Steen for the Ring of Honor World Championship 11 years ago. And this is an emotional roller coaster ride. And without putting too fine a point on it, this is the year that indie wrestling took over professional wrestling. Who won the Intercontinental Championship yesterday? Sami Zayn. Was it Sami Zayn or was it El Generico? Because he won it with a brainbuster off the top rope, and Sami Zayn doesn't use that finisher. That's El Generico. And this match, Eddie Kingston versus Mark Briscoe, was the embodiment of independent wrestling of the last 20 years in North America. And it wasn't just about Jay, and it wasn't just about Ring of Honor, and it wasn't just about Shikara, and it wasn't just about Eddie, and it wasn't just about Mark. This was about pro wrestling, the pro wrestling we love, and the pro wrestling journey that this company has been on, and the pro wrestling journey Mark Briscoe has been on. And I couldn't be prouder of Mark Briscoe for what he's done in this business, and I couldn't be prouder of Eddie Kingston for what he's done in this business. But God bless him for giving us this match, because this was pro wrestling the way I want it to be done. There are things I would have liked not to have seen, like Mark bleeding like a stuck pig. But if we got to have it, we got to have it. This was exceptional professional wrestling. Marcus, what's your thoughts on this?
I mean, you could, like you said, we could say a million things about it. But I think this is the art form at its finest in terms of, the historical context, emotion, just all the fine points. You want to create a perfect wrestling gumbo, if you will. I think this was a great recipe, put together here for deliver a fine dish. Maybe could argue, perhaps Ring of Honor's finest. The representative, certainly representative not only what it's been, but what it's become and potentially where it could go. Briscoe name is so intrinsically tied with Ring of Honor. It almost feels like, both Ring of Honor and the Briscoes in general, we're finishing their story together in a lot of ways. Obviously that term gets, being used a lot right now for this particular weekend. But I think it's so apropos here because, on Eddie's side as well, just the culmination, like you said, the last year and so, and really going into this match, kind of peaking to a level of exhaustion. Obviously, he got the Triple Crown, and that was just, really the culmination of greatness that he's cultivated. But, it's taken a lot. He's only human. You can only do so much. That tournament took a lot out of everybody, but specifically him. And obviously, we've seen him lose that Triple Crown. This was the last point of it, but I think that was brilliant storytelling in itself. And then you get on, Mark, he's coming into this match with a lot on him. Not just what it meant for the company. Like you said, the story of him wanting to just be his own man and stand on his own, but also wanting to do this for his brother, who I'm sure he would have given his right arm to have standing in that ring, congratulating little chicken on finally getting it done with a broken wing, if you will. Going into talking about that promo, that beautiful promo that they showed beforehand. So, this was a beautiful culmination of a lot of years of ups and downs, trials and tribulations. But ultimately, like you said, this was a great representation of, what this sport and art form is, why we love it. And yeah, man, this was a Ring of Honor glory moment. That really one of the great, to me, I think you got to put this in there as one of the great feel good moments in wrestling. I think we can have a whole show talking about, those moments, just in general or our favorite moments, but I think you got to put this in there, talk about a perfect storm. The man finally proves it to the world, to himself, does it on the anniversary for his brother winning all those years ago. And yeah, it was really, just a beautiful moment. I don't think you can get much better than this.
No, absolutely not. This is as good as Ring of Honor is going to get. It's all downhill from here. No, I think this is kind of like it sets the next story in motion. Eddie reaching that pinnacle of beating Cesaro for the championship. Sorry, Claudio, do apologize. Was Eddie's story, not Ring of Honor's story, because Eddie wasn't really a Ring of Honor regular. He was a guy who wrestled for Ring of Honor for periods of time, but he wasn't considered the guy good enough. So Eddie, beating Ring of Honor and beating the kind of a guy who Claudio, who was so associated with Ring of Honor, you know, with Kings of Wrestling, you know, those guys. That was special. But it wasn't a Ring of Honor story. It was a wrestling story. Whereas this is a Ring of Honor story because it's Mark. And I think that's really intriguing, is how you're going to go forward with that and what you're going to do on Ring of Honor TV. Especially as, like, Eddie's an AEW guy and they kind of need him in AEW. Whereas Mark can quite happily sit on our Ring of Honor TV tapings, do the occasional AEW show and be, you know, used really well. And I think that's really where they need to go to give the men's division a bit more lift, which is where Athena's kind of like filled in that gap because Eddie has not been around. Whereas Mark can fill that gap now. And it's going to be maybe a bit more of a smaller show in one sense, from the point of view of it kind of going back to its roots. But it gives chance for some other people to rise because Eddie's become such a massive star and he's carried the company that way. But I think it gives you a chance to tell different stories.
Yeah, it's almost like internally a great thing that you know, Eddie ends up becoming, you know, like a 5-2 player, even in situations where it don't necessarily call for or set up the scenario to be that type of dynamic. Because in a lot of these things, these 12 months, and you talk about guys that he's beaten, these haven't been scenarios like you know, you'll look at, if you put Mark in the same, you know, scenarios that Eddie was in, it don't hit the same, because in a lot of ways, because of who he just is, not only as a performer but as a person, these individuals that he finally knocked off, he didn't just want to beat them, he had to beat them. Because in a lot of ways, like, you know, how they felt about him. Like, you're never going to beat me. You're never going to be anything. You were never supposed to get this far, yada, yada, yada. And him beating them just continued to flip the narrative along the way. So it always felt more personal, even beyond the professional in a lot of ways. And that, again, that's, of course, credit to Eddie, because he makes everything feel real. So, and I think that was also a beautiful thing here was, you know, there was a personal element to it, but it wasn't this thing of, you know, this long standing beef or whatnot, looking down on somebody like Mark. No, this was, you know, somebody that he deeply respected, on, you know, deep respect on both sides. But, you know, this was just a guy that wanted to be a true challenge to Mark. So if he did win, you know, it was well earned, and it really was. And like you said, this was hopefully a turning point where we're seeing this thing can go now, because, like you said, Mark can be that, once again, that defining pillar in Ring of Honor. Because you can't talk about Ring of Honor and not bring up the Briscoes. They're that intrinsically rooted in the company, sort of, to have that name be back on top, if you will. It just kind of seems right. Even with, again, Athena is still technically the emblem. Let's not move that. She's put in that work, but it's gonna be interesting seeing where they go from here. Because now Mark can, you know, kind of be there full time and continue to bolster the brand, you know.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of wraps up our coverage of Supercard of Honor, and we had Sakura Genesis earlier in the day. So thank you very much for your time today, Marcus. Where can we find you in the internet, sir?
Always a pleasure. Yeah, X is still a thing. You can find me on there. You know, hit me up, avoiding all the fires along the way at Paradox Kid. That's PARADOXKID, always down in chat.
Elon's traveling circus of mediocrity and Nazis. You can find me at Sheriff Lone Star. You can also find me at Sheriff Lone Star on Mastodon and on Sheriff Lone Star TX on Instagram, but it's not very wrestling based. You can find the show Troopany Show on Twitter and on Instagram, and you can find us on Patreon and on Facebook as well as the Troopany Show. In the meantime, next week, myself and Christie and Anna will be looking at TJPW from their exceptional week going forward from the Grand Princess 2024 and live in Philly. So we'll be looking at those two cards. And in the meantime, thank you very much. Go watch some Ring of Honor, and we'll speak soon. Take care. Bye.